Hello, welcome back to another episode of Xbox Infinite, episode 59, dude. I can't wait for episode 69. That is going to be, it's going to be one of the best episodes we ever have. Welcome back. It's been a bit of a fire week, actually. There wasn't a lot of news, but then some stuff dropped towards the end of the week. Some stuff that I would like to talk about. I don't think everyone wants to talk about it, but we're going to do it anyway, because I get to do what I want to do. DoomCutie, how you doing? Welcome back. Oh, I skipped the guest. What an asshole. One Bad Mother, how are you doing? One Bad Mother, how you doing? Welcome to the show. Where are you contractors? What have you been up to? What have you been playing?
What's up, man? Well, first of all, first time here, and it's thanks for the invite. I'm looking forward to having fun. I feel like we had a little mini podcast in the chat, so might as well bring it live, right? It's time to give each other shit where where it's all on record. But yeah, I'm excited to be here today, and it would be just like you, Riskit, to be looking forward to celebrating episode 69. Everybody else wants to celebrate episode 100, 500. Riskit's looking forward to episode 69.
69, dude.
You'll have to get us a very special guest for that, I'm sure. I'm just scared of who that guest could be. But
Amarath.
yeah, man,
I've been asking Amarath to come on the show for episode 69.
That would be perfect. Yeah, that makes
that way we can tell her personally that we prefer our Xbox over her.
I saw that was funny. Oh man. But yeah, I mean, in terms of what I'm playing, you guys know I'm always still playing the dead game Halo, and in addition to that, I've been I picked something out of the backlog because I know that starting up here very, very soon, backlogs, you just can wave goodbye to them if you want to touch anything that's interesting that's coming up, because there's really not going to be time for backlogs in 2023, I don't think. So decided I was going to finally beat The Witcher Witcher 3, because that's been rated one of the best games by many people, and I needed to find out what it was about, and I have found out what it is about because almost 100 hours in, and I still haven't really been able to stop. So that's what I've been doing gaming wise, but looking forward to getting into the shenanigans tonight.
Absolutely. DoomCutie, now we go to you. How's your week been? What have you been up to? Welcome back.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you. And thank you to One Bad Mother for coming on the show. It's always lovely to have amazing guests every week, thanks to the hard work of Riskit's tweets. You know how it is. This week has been, I don't know, I'm getting closer to going back to work, and I'm not vibing with that at all. But yeah, happy to be here. Happy to see the lovely chat always. You guys honestly keep the show afloat. You guys are amazing. And yeah, let's get into it.
Absolutely. JediKnightPeter, welcome back to episode 59, dude. How's your week been? What have you been up to? What have you been playing?
Mate, been playing a little bit of Contrast because I needed to get 3 achievements for the weeklies this week, and that game's actually pretty good. I'd never played it before. I really like the art style. I think it was put out by Microsoft Game Studios a few years ago, but it was on Game Pass, so I'm really enjoying that. Been playing a lot of Fortnite, like a lot of Fortnite. Really enjoying that game. Got a few dubs, which is really cool. Massive news this week. Thank you for One Bad Mother for joining us. Let's do this.
Absolutely. Umbra, how you doing? How you feeling? Ready to rock and roll? Bright-eyed, bushy tail. What have you been up to? How's your week been?
Oh yeah, all of those things. Yeah, all of those things. Yeah. Yeah,
bedroom voice on.
Yeah, any ladies in the audience.
Talk.
Amarath, if you're listening, I'm choosing my Xbox over you. Yeah, girl. No, but yeah, man, I've been playing a bit of everything. Literally, I started Chained Echoes. Really enjoying that. I've been finishing off that Phoenix Wright trilogy. And I started Monster Hunter Rise, but I didn't get far. And yeah, man, just happy to be here tonight. One Bad, happy to have you with us tonight, brother.
Thank you
And of
for
course,
having me, man.
no doubt. And of course, my castmates, and shout out to the chat. Much love to everybody. I might not see you typing to me, but if I missed you, hello. Hello. It's me.
Oh, good.
That was
Look,
going to be another one.
speaking of the chat, a little bit of summer news. If you are noticing that Shooter is not here, he's not feeling well. So I just wanted to give a bit of a special shout out to Shooter, mate. And if you are listening, I hope you're feeling better, and you get better soon. You get what you need. We'll talk to you later. But we'll get into the first topic, and it's one that I didn't have on the topic list because it kind of sort of dropped and then developed, and I want to talk about it again. Again, we're talking about media bias. My God. If you guys don't know, earlier in the week, one of the senior writers for Kotaku accused the Xbox fan base of being the most toxic. I did have it up on screen, but I was fiddling around with some stuff and I took it down off screen. So if you'll excuse me whilst I stall and flick through my... Here we go. And earlier in the week, his name was Luke Plunkett. He said regarding Phil Spencer's award, where Phil Spencer said companies must turn away from dividing players and creators. He said he is the man at the helm of the most toxic fan base in all of video games. I then pertinently reminded Luke that PlayStation fans have sent dick pics to get release dates for God of War, doxed a surgical patient, threatened to bomb Sony itself, threatened to rape developers at Naughty Dog, and also sent death threats to Naughty Dog. And they also very recently attacked the shit out of a YouTuber for reporting on the liquid metal leak. Guys in the chat, if there's something that you thought I missed out of that tweet, please drop it in there. Is there anything that you guys remember that PlayStation fans did that was absolutely toxic and egregious? Drop it in the chat. Man, I just, a little bit embarrassed that this guy's from Australia, to be honest. This is just, I'm pretty sick of this. This is starting to piss me off, with the media just being so openly biased. At the very least, what they could do is hide their bias. Now, this is coming from a publication or a lead writer of a publication who earlier in the month, or I think it was last month, complained that at MagFest they put up a sign, and I'm going to flick that sign up on screen now. They put up a sign at MagFest that had this at the bottom: Kotaku's journalistic integrity 404 not found. And this just kind of goes straight to it. They complained heavily, and eventually, after I believe his name is Paul Cifaldi, Frank Cifaldi complained heavily and attacked them and said this was another Gamergate and said it was dog whistling to Gamergate, which is absolutely not true. After that, MagFest actually apologized and said that they didn't mean any harm. Frankly, I think if Kotaku wants to be taken seriously as a publication, they need to let this dude go. I'm not for firing people most of the time. I would normally but this guy's been doing this this has been going on for years. I mean, Special Nick reached out to me and basically told me not to bother with this dude because this is not the first time. I believe when MKVs became available to play on Xbox, he said that now Xbox gamers can pirate movies, etc., etc. When it became available on PlayStation, he reported that MKVs were available on PlayStation. He's extremely biased, and I'm just really tired of the bias in the media. And I don't know if you guys in the chat are really sick of it as well. Yeah, Jesse B, we are talking about Luke. I don't know if you guys are really sick of it as well, but I am really sick of it, and I think we should rally as gamers more and push these publications to just hold some sort of integrity. It's just a bit ridiculous. Look, I'll go to the panel on this just real quickly, and then we'll move forward because we do have a stacked topic list. But I just wanted to cover this. I'm just really tired personally of seeing reporters, guys that are supposed to be impartial, that are supposed to be able to report on gaming from an impartial standpoint, just be completely biased. Umbra, I'm going to jump to you first because I don't know, I felt like it. But this pissed me off. This really pisses me off. The dude literally just bagged out an entire fan base and then acted like the victim, like after the entire fan base. And look, there was definitely some attacks in there that he copped, but for the most part, the Xbox fans were reasonable. Now, I saw another tweet where someone said, I think it was Uso Video, shout out to him, where he said, if you had posted this tweet about PlayStation fans, you would have to have deleted your account and all that. I can't remember exactly what it said, but like it would have been a lot more toxic, and that is a fucking guarantee. Umbra, yeah, what was your take on Luke Plunkett?
Yeah, man, the guy is I mean, much like his company that he works for. I think he's just kind of like a trashy dude, and it's unfortunate because I used to have a much more higher opinion of Kotaku, but then you see that, and it just reinforces the thoughts, at least of Xbox fans, that the media is very biased against us as far as things go. And and I've seen him block people off, not even off insults. I've seen him block people off of, like, for instance, Teasy just mentioned Vinny in the chat. Vinny didn't even insult him, literally just pointed out, hey, if you reverse that and put, Jim Ryan's name, you'll have to close your, you have to go private in 5 hours, because the PlayStation fans would be at him. He blocked him over that. It's like, come on. So, and like somebody else pointed out, Abdel pointed out, Take Him is worse. Yeah, Take Him is up there. But that just goes back to my point. A lot of these guys in media and journal, so-called journalists, and I've had this debate with people before, and I think more people have become disillusioned to it. But it used to be the case where you would point out, well, just because they're a journalist or whatever doesn't mean that their take is more rationed or reasoned than a fan or a fanboy, right? And people were like, no, they're journalists, blah, blah, blah. But I think we've seen that line get crossed. You know what I mean? That line has been crossed for a long while now. I think plenty of journalists and such, have shown their true colors, and they have pointed out that they are too and can be fanboys as well, and capable of being irrational and making, unfair statements and things like that. So him just coming out the way he did and saying what he did about Phil was like so uncalled for. It's like he was just looking to start a fight. You know what I mean? But my thing is, don't start a fight and then try to block people indiscriminately once they call you out or say things. It's like unless they're, of course, being ridiculous. But yeah, it's just all around. It's sad to see, and but it is what it is. I don't trust or give Kotaku any of my time anyway. So it is what it is. And I found out I was blocked. Apparently, I think it may have been when I went to a Kotaku article and was talking about who wrote this nonsense. So it ended up being him. So he saw that and blocks me. That was some time back. So it is what it is. Yeah, Gray, we can't have that on the show, unfortunately, brother. I saw that above. Yeah, I would win, but no, we can't do that. But yeah.
Yeah, definitely probably can't have that. I don't want to show everyone up and embarrass people. Weirdly enough, while you were talking, Umbra, I was Take Him followed me some time back for a I don't know, I kind of put a bit of an attack on someone who it was a back and forth PlayStation thing, which is really out of character for me. And Take Him followed me. I don't follow the dude, but I was fully expecting to be blocked because I have taken a shot at Take Him. The dude still follows me, so that's a little bit weird. I feel like I'm being watched.
Yeah. It always feels like...
Jedi
he's watching you.
JediKnightPeter. Look, how do you feel about the media bias being just so prevalent but so obvious? And then the guy is playing victim. Kotaku constantly plays the victim when really it's their journalistic integrity that's the problem. And if they were to tidy that up, this is probably going to take years to repair if indeed they even try to. Well, how do you feel about the whole media bias permeating through to the gaming community?
Who goes to Kotaku for their gaming news anymore? Like, honestly, I don't think there's many people that do. I think this is the only way they can still have some kind of voice in the industry. It's clearly made for clickbait. It's working. We're talking about it. It gets ratioed by Colt Eastwood, who is just one man that has, a podcast and a channel, and I don't know if he's got the amount of followers that Kotaku does. I very much doubt that he does, but even someone like him is able to ratio him, because I will go to Colt Eastwood for my gaming news much before I go to Kotaku. So it's purely based on clickbait, nothing more than that. Unfortunately, it's working. These guys are absolute morons, but it's the only way they can survive in the industry, the way that it is at the moment, unfortunately.
Did Jez just pop into the chat then? I think Jez did.
Yes, and I am going to remove him because he says Marmite is better than Vegemite.
Thanks, Jez, for the £5 super chat. He says Marmite over Vegemite. That is it's like gaming royalty in here for 1 and for 2. Wow, that's not true.
If he says it versus you and Pete, I'm leaning toward Jazz on this one. I don't know.
Oh man,
but you know what though? Jazz does like a lot of beans, so maybe I don't know.
I think that like literally, if an American tried Marmite, it would kill them. I think you got to start with like Vegemite and work your way up to Marmite, and then you can start looking at Promite with a side eye. DoomCutie, I wanted to go to you about this because you are a journalist and you do work for a publication, and it is reputable. And I know some of the mandates that you are under when you write your articles, and they are fair and reasonable mandates. And I like the way that that Goa does its business. And they do remain impartial, almost excessively so. And I do like it. I do. You guys don't take a side, and you just report on what's happening, and you just let people know, what is news, what games, what you think of games. You do have opinion pieces, but they never lean towards a console war side. And I like that. That's a publication I can trust. So, what's your take on journalists just getting out there and console warring in the gaming space?
Honestly, look, going to Kotaku for news would be like, I don't know, going to, what are those like
tabloid,
paparazzi, tabloid, type of things. It'd be like getting my news from there. So I really think that anyone who does read from Kotaku, they're there for entertainment. They're there for clicks. They're not there. They don't have your best interests at heart. They're there just to have fun with what is news and what is being released. Unfortunately, some people will take that as gospel, and people will use what they say. And I think as people that provide information to the public or appear to supply information to the public, they have an obligation to them. And unfortunately, in this case, they don't care. They don't. So, and at Goa, we are only allowed to report on things that are actual official news. We are making predictions and things like that, reporting on rumors, that kind of thing. That's not something that we subscribe to, and it's probably why a lot of my takes do seem a little casual, as I've had that in the past, because sometimes I don't know why people get really obsessed with being correct about their predictions. That really bothers me. So, but
we're going to see some obsession about being correct on predictions on today's show.
I am aware
in this panel that should not be obsessed with predictions.
But if we look at the history of Kotaku, 2014, Gamergate occurred, and they've had lots of issues with lawsuits. In the 2000s, it's really, I mean, it's really not surprising.
Yeah,
and honestly, my advice for anyone out there is don't share anything that they put out there, even if it is to say, oh, this isn't right or whatever. It doesn't actually help the situation. It actually keeps them going and keeps this happening. So
yeah, look, agreed. But being the staunch console warrior that I am, I can't let something like that go. So of course I shared it out. And mostly I do it for shits and giggles, and it is mostly for a laugh. You can't take most of what I'm doing on Twitter seriously. However, occasionally when something like this pops up, I was dead serious. This was pretty egregious thing to go and punch an entire fan base in the face and then run to the cops, tap them on the shoulder, and be like, they're going to hurt me. Like, dude.
Yeah, I just wanted to address something from the chat. So Legendary Drop said Kotaku is opinion pieces. Yes, it is. But a person who's visiting that website, if they were to Google Starfield, whatever, and they want to read news about it, that's going to come up. It comes up in the news section of Google. So yes, these might be opinion pieces, but when you look at game reviews, if you were to look in the news section, they come up there in the news. So
that is
and so
true.
we're supposed to take, and that's the thing, we're supposed to take serious people who, because I've seen an opinion by Mark. He says that it's entertainment and they're allowed to be biased. That's to a degree. That's to a reasonable degree. When you are so biased that it's clear that you are favoring somebody else, and we're supposed to take you as a source of anything news wise, how can we trust you on anything when we know that you're already aiming to be negative on anything else? And he says it's entertainment. That's not what entertainment is. Entertainment, as I wrote in the chat, is it's about the act of providing amusement and enjoyment. How is console warring from a journalist entertainment? That's idiocy. I don't want to see that from a journalist. I don't tolerate it from idiots online. I block them. So am I supposed to see the journalists, so-called journalists, the same way? No.
No, look, absolutely. But Mark from Legendary Drops responded to you, and I agree with you, Umbra, 100% with the $5 super chat. We appreciate that, Mark. He says, Umbra's voice has officially made me question my orientation. I need a cold shower. Also, Kotaku, but I'm assuming he means Kotaku, is the greatest site with the highest of integrity. Yeah, I don't. I think he's just kidding around. But
is that cat website?
Yeah, he's joking, but
yeah.
But he did say Kotaku, so I don't know. Maybe somebody else.
Kotaku.
Get your cat pick.
Look,
appreciate you, Mark.
I'm going to go over to One Bad Mother. Hey, look, look, I kind of see what Mark's coming with, but DoomCutie's 110% right. When people go looking for news on things, Kotaku comes up. It is usually one of the first to be recommended for news pieces, and they do news pieces. They don't just do opinions. And how are you supposed to trust? I mean, look at the pretty egregious MKV file. It's notorious now. This guy wrote both those articles. So when MKVs become available on Xbox, he said that Xbox gamers were going to pirate videos and pirate movies, and he wrote the article in an extremely negative way. And then when it happened on PlayStation, his take was, "Oh, fantastic that PlayStation's letting PlayStation gamers play MKVs on their PlayStation." The guy is just an he's bottom of the barrel scum in my opinion. You don't behave like that as a journalist. I wouldn't want to be thought of the way that this dude's thought of by anyone in the community, even if I didn't like that part of the community. That's just, having integrity is something that's important to me, and it should be important to journalists. Twitter aside, again, I say Twitter aside, that's mostly for shits and giggles. One Bad Mother, I'm interested to see what your take is on this, because you also work in the journalistic space. You do work for an Xbox, you will work with an Xbox-centric publication and podcast, etc. But I do feel that you guys take your integrity quite seriously. So what's your take from that perspective?
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting because actually the last couple of things that both DoomCutie and Umbra said, I kind of gonna piggyback off some of that stuff, and I think the thing that bothers a lot of people, and I think this goes to what Umbra was saying, is that there is some conflation there. Like on one hand, they throw out opinion takes that get treated like news, and they go, "Hey, this is just my opinion," but then they do have also news. And I think that they blur the lines between it. And I think that's what people really struggle with. Like, if you come out there and you are making it very transparent what you are, where you're coming from, I think you can get away with almost anything. I think, but when you try to, frame yourself as a, that, I mean, this was the outlet that Jason Schreier, leaked a lot of factual information and stuff. And, and I think some of his personality still left there without the credibility from the sources and things like that. But that is like the number one thing. And as somebody who does also work on content for a site, and yes, it is Xbox centric. Yes, I am obviously going to have preferences to the platform. Going to cover it from that angle, but I think you can still do that and be genuine in how you are framing things, and you can have opinions and try to base them in some sort of reality at the very least. Like Jez does that. Like Jez won't ever say he doesn't pretend like he's evenly playing between Xbox and PlayStation, or that he has an even preference for how they acquire companies or anything like that. Like he'll tell you that right on his chat, but when he writes an article, he backs it up. Even when he has an opinion article, he backs it up with things that can be grounded in reality. That there's some logical there's some logical flow to that information, and a lot of times these sort of, like, when you start saying something like an entire base is toxic. I mean, first of all, step back and just think about what you're saying there. Like, scientifically, how do you connect the dots on somebody? Does somebody unbox a console and suddenly, like, they're infected with the toxic disease and start running online and start yelling at people? I feel like anytime you're using a broad brush to paint like an entire, like, millions of people with something based off of a feeling, I mean, number one, that's kind of dangerous. I mean, that's really how a lot of problems with a lot of
The world.
groups,
Yeah.
the world, that's where they start with people making an assumption. Oh, you're part of this group, or you're you're over here, you're associated with them, and you suddenly adopt all these characteristics, and that's like really
Dangerous thinking.
that's kind of a danger. Yeah, that's a dangerous way, I think. And I don't care like where you at on different sides of things. That's a dangerous way to start treating people. So and the last thing I'll just say on this is, as somebody who does the content, and was relating to DoomCutie on this. Now, we do allow opinion pieces, but we have to, again, ground ours with some sort of supporting. Like, you can't just say, this is how I feel. It's got to be like, well, why? Like, what can you do to support that? Or do you have any sourcing to go with this opinion? And I do find that if you are trying to either write opinions that are based at, that has some sort of factual backing of them, or if you are just trying to report, it takes a lot more talent to entertain people, or to excite them, or to be interesting, if you aren't somebody that is clickbaiting in this way. Because the other way that you can engage people is just making them angry, right? And you can make people angry without ever being smart. You can just say stupid. Am I allowed to swear? It's just say stupid shit, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Swear away.
And that's what they're doing right now. I think it's been pretty obvious in the last year or so that they've really started leaning more into that. And to me, what that's saying is that they don't really have confidence that they can keep the lights on and pay the bills and get the clicks just by having talent, just by being just by being really good at what they do, that they have to like lean into this this very disingenuous, make people angry, because people will engage you, just like Jedi was saying. Like, people will engage you if you make them angry. And so, like, that is for on our side, we stay away from that. We're not allowed to counsel, we're not allowed to disingenuously clickbait somebody, just try to piss somebody off with the title to get the clicks. And it does take a lot more work to get a click when you don't do that. And so what it really just shows is that Kotaku's lost a lot of their talent, and they are in desperation mode. And I think that's kind of my last
sort of
that's
point.
a summary of kind of how I feel about where they're at right now.
Yeah, I don't know.
Good points.
Yeah, I don't know if it's sort of the death throes for Kotaku, but I really do feel that this just requires a response. Look, it's all right. Look, everyone knows that I get out there and stir the pot like constantly. I love it. It makes me giggle. But I am not a journalist. I do not do not need to keep that shit to myself. And look, half of it, like I said, most of it's for shits and giggles. I like a laugh. People take it really seriously, and that's fine. They can. But I never get personal, and I don't usually attack people. But I mean, this man went out and literally attacked an entire fan base. Personally.
Yeah, this is what we were talking about before, but Riskit, isn't it? It's from his personal account, Luke Plunkett. And although it does say that he works for Kotaku, it is from his personal one. Now, I don't want anybody to get fired. And although I do think it's clickbaity and it's wrong, I don't want anyone to lose their job for their personal opinion. Yeah.
Even if it's egregiously wrong. Look,
Of course, yeah.
what Kotaku needs to come out, and what I'd like to see the dude lose his job because I think he's a dick, and this is not the first time he's done it. And I don't normally say that, like it's not normally my view. But I would the very least like to see Kotaku come out and say, look, we don't align with this opinion. At the very least, they don't need to apologize for the dude, but just something would be nice. Anyway, look, we'll move on to the next topic. That was just one that popped up in the week. I was like, it was pretty incredulous when I saw it. But we will move on. Before we do, guys, please hit the like button, hit the share button. There's not a share button, but hopefully one day there will be. But hit the subscribe button if you are new here. We'll move on to the next topic. And it is a bit of a negative one. And we do have a few negative things to go through. And we did talk about this behind the scenes. These are things that just need to be covered, and we do have some positive news at the back end of the show, but this is stuff that needs to be talked about and can't be avoided, unfortunately, and it folds into quite a few things, and it's sort of a layered discussion. So Microsoft's laying off around about 10,000 people. This is a bit of a nuanced conversation as well. Layoffs are hitting 343 the hardest. I believe it's 130 employees that are being laid off from 343. 60 of those are contractors. One bad mother, just wanted to mention that. But also Bethesda's being hit. I can't find any figures on how many from Bethesda are being laid off, but it must be significant enough. So in the tens, significant enough for it to be reported on. Also, during all this happening, now this was reported on, I believe, by Jason Schreier. Joe Staten's leaving 343 as well. And so there's been a lot of information coming out, and not all of this will be 110% accurate because it hasn't been confirmed by Microsoft. So please do take absolutely everything with a grain of salt. However, one fact that we can point to that is a definite fact is Microsoft are laying off 10,000 people. That is a fact that is confirmed. However, in 2021, they've employed a ridiculous 40,000 people in 2021 going into 2022. That's a lot of people. So they are laying off 10K. And look, my view on this is it's not good. It's never good when that happens. Tech companies are taking a hit because during the COVID period, people were staying at home and spending a lot on tech, subscriptions, gaming, office stuff, anything to do with IT was all getting a bump because of this sort of stay-at-home mentality, the stay-at-home, the lockdowns, right? Now, this is obviously a bit of a golden era for tech, and it's always going to come to an end. And they obviously employ more people during these periods, and it happens with every industry. When they have a bit of a boom, they employ a lot of extra people, and when that stops or it happens or a recession comes or it slows down, and we are coming to a recession, so we've been told many times, they'll start laying people off. This is not big bad Microsoft. It really isn't. I mean, I know people are trying to paint it that way, but it's just something that's happening. Amazon's doing it. I would be surprised if Sony did it. To be fair, I don't think that their employee levels did bump heavily during COVID. So I would be surprised to see that happen. But it's still a possibility as well. They may indeed lay off, a few thousand people or a few hundred people. It's very, very likely if you're a tech company, that's what you're going to be doing in this climate. It's a layered conversation. Joe Staten also left 343. These layoffs seem to be targeted as well. They don't seem to be completely random. And they don't seem to be all contractors. And when it's 343 situation, there's quite a lot to talk about there. But I'll just cover the 10K as a whole real quickly with the panel. I'll go to you guys and just get your thoughts. And if you want to fold into 343, One Bad Mother, Pete, Cutie, Umbra, if you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. Like I said, it is a bit of a layered topic. We are going to try to stay away from Starfield until we get to the end of this, but I will go to Cutie first and just ask, what were your kind of thoughts? It's always disappointing. And just let me preface anything anyone says today. It's always horrible when people lose their jobs. We don't at all think that this is a good thing, and our heart goes out to those people. Those people have families and mouths to feed. It's never something that you want to see, but unfortunately, it is just a mechanism of business. Cutie?
Yeah, no, definitely. The they did experience a boom, and they did employ a lot of people, and well, the boom's slowing down. So I can imagine that they would be letting some people go. And I know it's very easy for people to jump to conclusions, especially when they're acquiring another company at the same time. Like, it doesn't look good. I understand that. Sorry. But yeah, look, our hearts go out to the people who have lost their jobs. But in saying that, I don't think it's I don't think they're big meanies or anything like that. And you know what? If particularly 343, have they been doing a good job anyway? Oh no, like like people have been pretty unhappy. So I mean, it could mean this could mean more positive things for some of your favorite games. So
Yeah, absolutely. Moneybag in the chat there said 10,000 layoff. ABK's got 9,000, so maybe they know the deal's going through. Yeah, that's possible as well. Umbra, you've obviously been following this in the news, and Cutie, you make a really valid point, and it is a valid point. When a company's paying $69 billion to acquire another company with 9,000 employees, and then you lay off 10K, it isn't a good look.
Yeah, ABK I believe is actually 10,000 though, Moneybag, and I think Microsoft actually totally laid off 11,000, just to be specific.
yeah, there was some before the end of the year, wasn't there?
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a messed up thing. I mean, for anyone to lose their jobs, of course, in great numbers like this, especially with the downturn in the economy. So much love and hopeful to these people who have lost jobs all across the sector. A lot of people kind of focused it on Xbox, but it's not Xbox centric. It's Microsoft centric and industry centric as well. I mean, like Riskit pointed out earlier when he announced this topic, it's been happening all over. Alphabet announced 12,000 earlier from Google and such, that they had to let go and lay off. So it's unfortunate, but it seems to be a case just because of our poor recession that's happening and then all across the world, at least, or at least specifically here in America. I will say, silver lining, it does seem like a lot of people are reaching out to a lot of these folks, and it seems like they might be able to land on their feet at other places. And it seems worse too for Xbox because of the acquisition talks, but they did actually hire a ton of people over the past few years and retain more than they let go. I know it's not going to sound good to those who actually, lost a job, but, at least I would say more are, employed than not. And hopefully, in a few years things turn around and everybody can stay solid. But yeah, it's just an unfortunate thing. My thing would be just to give grace to those people. You see them online, give them your well wishes and such, and that's about all you can do, I guess. Yeah, maybe if I win the Mega Millions, I'll try to start up a gaming company or something. I don't know. Have some start my own 343 and ruin Halo on my own. But yeah,
would you call it 420? Just to give a bit of context there. Since 2019, Microsoft have employed 77,000 employees, one bad mother, and that is a humongous number, a bit of a ridiculous number, and they may just be cutting some of the fat. They may be taking aim at specific positions. They may be taking aim at specific studios, it does look like. What are your thoughts on Microsoft just cutting that 11,000 employees?
Yeah, I guess I have some slightly unique thoughts just because I've kind of lived through a few things myself in my career that's kind of been in different places. I think a lot of us remember the dot-com burst, right? Like back in the 90s when everybody got really super excited and really overplayed their cards, and then there was a big drop afterwards and a lot of job loss. And then saw the same thing in the mortgage crisis, which I started working into that industry like 1 month before the crash, and then I went into banking after I finally couldn't sustain anything there. Went to banking, and 1 month after I was there, I crashed that industry apparently. So I've been in that, and then what happens a lot of times is we go through these spurts in the economy, and these companies get really aggressive, very just exuberant about like what the future is going to be. And we saw that happen. We saw that happen from the pandemic and everybody being inside. They changed their habits. All these tech companies just saw all this money and were trying to get as much of it as possible as soon as they could. And now they have to. This is like a correction time, right? But that saying all of that, I do think, and this, obviously Microsoft's not alone in this, but I also don't really think I'm not one who's really going to just kind of like go slough it off and say, oh, that's just the way it is. I do think generally when you see big layoffs, a good amount of time, especially in a situation like this where it wasn't like some crazy, there wasn't like this one big thing that caught everybody off guard. I mean, this is something that maybe they should have anticipated a little bit more. And then you like kind of look at it more of a micro level, like with 343 in the situations there. A lot of times, all these people that are getting laid off, yes, it is an excuse to get rid of, maybe some of the low performers in the process, but the vast majority of them are people that are that get impacted because they had bad leadership, or there was bad strategies, or there was strategies that didn't work out. And when you kind of drill into like the Microsoft situation, there's letting go of, lots of people in certain areas where they're like, yeah, this thing isn't really, doing what we thought it was going to do. Right. And 343 is one of those. That game didn't perform the way it was going to. And a lot of those developers, from what I understand, there's a lot of talent. There was a lot of talented people that are basically either kind of were already saw the writing on the wall and were leaving, or finally got let go, that kind of really pulled that game out of some, they were put into some really difficult situations based on leadership decisions and things that really were out of their control. And I feel like a lot of those people did the best they could with it. And so I do like want to pay respects to some of that, because I've seen that, whether it was myself or in the last decade, I haven't been affected like that, but I've seen other people. And a lot of times it is just like, oh, you are in this department, or you are on this team that just it's a team that's not really bringing in the returns that they thought was going to happen. So and sometimes people just get moved over to those teams, right? And they're already let go within like months of doing that. And so like a lot of times it isn't their fault. And there is talented people, and it's unfortunate. I think if you kind of drill into the 343 stuff, it does sort of confirm a lot of the rumors and speculation that there was a lot of leadership issues and poor decisions and underperformance, and I think now this kind of confirms all that, right? So yeah, it's two things. It's really unfortunate, but unfortunately, a lot of people impacted aren't even the ones that were responsible for the problem to begin with.
Yeah, it really does. Look, I mean, I want to preface my point by saying my thoughts and prayers go out to anybody that lost their job. Whenever you're working in an industry that, look, I'm sure they work their whole lives to get to the position they're in now, and no one losing their job is a good thing. In saying that, since 2021, Microsoft have hired 40,000 people. So yeah, if you look at it in broader terms, the 10,000 loss isn't a massive deal. It really, really isn't. In you look at it from a purely business perspective. Now, the gaming industry has, like in particular, has seen massive growth, absolute massive growth in the last couple of years. COVID proved that the gaming industry can withhold recessions as well. People will always flock back to, what they love, and gaming is a massive, massive industry now. And there is still a massive talent shortfall when it comes to people that, can code and stuff. And so I really do believe that, especially when it comes to gaming, these people land on their feet. So that's a great thing. People are looking for talented people within this industry and have been doing so for the last couple of years. And not only that, they've actually been getting paid a lot more because of that. So, that's really good. Uh, in terms of what it means for 343, I don't really know. Were they always going to downgrade the amount of staff that they had? I think so. I mean, they just fully wrapped up uh, Halo Infinite, campaign, and they've moved over to a live service model now. So I don't think they need as many people working there. They're probably in pre-production for the next Halo game. And Mother, I'm sure we're going to speak about this a little bit more as well. Drawn TJ did have a super chat that I want to get to. He says, do you think that id Tech and Certain Affinity will take over from 343? I don't know, TJ. I wouldn't have thought so. I don't think that id especially would want to work on Halo. I personally don't want them to. I would want them to do their own thing. And Certain Affinity are already making the Battle Royale mode for Halo as well, and which I'm really, really looking forward to. Hopefully we can see more on that soon. But I wanted to go straight to Mother on this. What do you think this means specifically for 343 and the amount of layoffs that they've seen?
Yeah, I mean, there's two sides of it. Obviously, I think it's pretty standard through most of the Halo community that there is a bit of sadness and disappointment and frustration, kind of seeing where things are at right now with 343. The fact that it doesn't look like we're going to get any campaign stuff for a long time, and going back to those developers, like I said, knowing the stuff that happened through that development and in some of the late stage changes that were made, the fact that they were working on an engine that wasn't finished, at critical times, and that they had contract, the whole contract situation, they had people leaving at critical times, when the timing got thrown off because of it was like a snowball, right? And I thought based on those circumstances, I really thought that team would, playing through the campaign, I don't think it's a like it's a classic, or like it's going to stand amongst like the greatest games of all time. But I thought it was a very good game for the sandbox. The gameplay was excellent. I thought it was almost to me like it was almost like you got a steak dinner and you had a really good steak, but they didn't give you the potatoes, the vegetables, the appetizer, or the garnishes. It was like it needed a little bit more. It needed a little bit more time to to add in some more content and in variety and things like that. And but
Especially at the end, I thought that it
yeah,
just finished way too soon. So you're fighting the two main bosses basically within 10 minutes of each other, and it just felt that they wrapped it up way too soon. That and the lack of biome diversity really affected the game, I think.
you could tell that they were basically was like, okay, we're like, they had something, but it's like, but they didn't get, I feel like they just needed like another year. That could have been like their magnum opus. It could have been it could have been a full-fledged, one of the best Halo experiences across the board by most of the fans. But they didn't get the time, and they didn't get the really a lot of things going their way throughout the process. And so one of the things I was hoping is like, what, they're almost there. They've done the near impossible, where they bridge the gap between the modern fans and the classic fans, and just give them another swing at this. Like, give them so they can add in some of those biomes and add in
Yeah,
some
now
scary
that
battles.
now that the engine is somewhat up and running, and they've built that open world landscape that can build upon they don't need to focus on those things, so they can, you're right, have
Right.
biome diversity. They
Yeah.
can focus more on a concentrated story. They've definitely built a foundation for something great coming next. But that goes to another point, and I'm going to go straight back to you again. We've heard that they are no longer going to be focusing on Infinite. Does that mean they're going to be focusing on a new game? Or we've heard rumors that 343 is going to be selling off the IP to whoever wants to work on it.
I think selling off is probably the wrong term. So I'll tell you what I believe based on all the rumors. Obviously, there's some minor
So hang on a minute. I do just
Yeah,
before you
go
jump into that, I just do want to go back to one thing, because you mentioned it, touched on it, and I do want to get into what's in the future of 343. But you mentioned something, and I'm going to bring it up. You knew it was going to come to the forefront. We had a conversation about contractors some time back. And I just wanted to read
what
out.
the conversation was. I just remember we fought over it. I have no idea what.
Yeah, that's I believe your contention that contractors didn't have a very big effect on the game. So,
no, I did not say that.
Yeah, well, you did. So, look, Patrick Wren, who's a senior encounter designer on Jedi Survivor currently, and he was a former multiplayer designer at Halo. He said the layoffs at 343 shouldn't have happened, and Halo Infinite should be in a better state. The reason for both of these things is incompetent leadership up top during the Halo Infinite development, causing massive stress on those working hard to make the game Halo at its best. Now, I do want to kind of claim a bit of a W for the entire podcast. This one here is because we have always said that we believed that it was management without knowing. We didn't know, but we could just look at the writing on the wall and just sort of judging from the outside that we believed that management was the issue. This is sort of a confirmation of that. And look, they've obviously taken steps, but it's been too little too late. And that seems to be the story with Halo Infinite. It's too little too late every step of the way. And I do hope they've learned from this. He also responded to someone else's tweet where they mentioned the contract issue. And I will get to some of the questions in the chat and the super chats after we've kind of covered this. He said, "Oh man, the contract stuff is a whole other can of worms. That pisses me off. So many amazing people and talent that just disappeared." If you don't know, I believe 18 months is the time frame that's been getting thrown around. It's not 18 months, it's 10 months. So contractors are able to stay and work on projects up until 10 months. And then after 10 months, they have to leave. It's based around a law in Washington that gives contractors full-time worker status or rights after a specific amount of time. And so Microsoft has just broadened that across their entire business, and it's become a policy of theirs. And unfortunately, they're not flexible in that policy. And they did use, I believe, this is not fact, but I believe they used a lot of contractors whilst developing the engine, which caused massive problems in the background.
Yes.
And yeah, One Bad Mother would probably know more about this than me because he does know some things he does know some people that know some things. So look, we've said this all along. I just wanted to claim my W and do a lap around the thing. No, it's everyone's W. We've all been saying this, but really, at the end of the day, it's a complete loss for the Xbox community because
really nobody's W'd.
Yeah,
nobody wants to be right on this, right?
Yeah,
like nobody wanted to be right on the problems because that's why we're at where we're at. Because some of that stuff did turn out.
Yeah, but some of this. Here's one other thing I just wanted to add. Some of this responsibility gets thrown at Phil Spencer, and it gets thrown at Matt Booty. I think Mav, way back when we were talking about this, said, well, then who do you take the blame to? You've got to take it to them as well, and you do.
Yep.
You really do. They should have stepped in and seen the problems that were happening. Now, there is obviously some cushioning, and they don't see everything that's going on. So that happens, okay? That definitely happens. However, it would have been pretty hard to miss that there was problems, especially when they had to delay the game for a year. And I think at that point, that's where Matt Booty steps in. That's where Phil Spencer steps in and has more oversight. And that would have been the thing that I think might have helped. Adding Joe Staten was a great thing. It seemed to have righted the ship. However, going back to what you said about campaign, they cut a lot. I've heard a lot of people say campaign was amazing. It was good. It was not amazing. They cut a shitload of content out of that, and you can tell that they chopped that campaign up. And that's why, and then someone else the other day, I was listening to a podcast where they said, well, why do we need campaign content? Halo 1 didn't have it, Halo 2 didn't have it, Halo 3 didn't have it, Halo 4 didn't have it, Halo 5 didn't have it. It's because you didn't give us a fully fleshed out campaign. And that's why we all thought we were going to get content. It's because you gave us one biome. Never before has a Halo campaign been so sparse. I'm sorry to say, it was sparse. There was content cut hard out of that. And that's why we all wanted, campaign DLC. And now it seems, One Bad Mother, that we're not going to get that. Is there anything that you can tell us that leads you to believe that campaign DLC is on the table or off the table?
No. And Jez came out and said today that it was never on the table. I think there's obviously there could be some semantics behind the scene. last year there was leaks, and I think they were kind of proven true to a lot of people within Halo content creation that they're like, hey, they're not working on DLC. In fact, the team that's on the campaign is very small. It's in the early stages of like kind of the ideation of what the next campaign is going to be. So there's no DLC now. When that decision was that made early, after the game was launched? Was that going to be made before the game was launched, or did it, most people assume that it was something that was decided kind of like middle of last year? That's kind of when they decided. But in terms of the timing of that, I don't know for a fact, because like I said, there seems to be some maybe misunderstanding what some of these job hires were, because when they were hiring for narrative people, maybe they thought that this is for campaign when it was really for multiplayer narrative. It could be even for the certain affinity narrative stuff. Who knows at this point, because now we see that, now that we're kind of seeing what the direction that they're going, where they're not gonna, it's not like they're just giving away the IP, but they are going to, I still think that Pierre is going to be the kind of overseer of campaign content. But he, even if you look back at his interviews a couple of years ago, he's kind of been a fan of them expanding and going into other games, and taking it to other studios and seeing what else they can do in the universe. And Phil Spencer mentioned in 2015 that that this is one of the unique IPs that could be like a Star Wars. And so I feel like that was sort of in the plans regardless. But maybe the fact that they were going to do that in addition to a team working on the next campaign. But I think what happened is, due to the underperformance, I don't think it got the engagement they were expecting. It didn't resonate the way they were hoping. And the fact that they had to make cuts all kind of came together as a perfect storm to kind of say, you know what, we're just going to put this on the shelf for today. Now, who knows if they have like an internal studio, an external studio, if it's certain affinity, if it's anybody that they already had lined up, or if this is even further out. Like that stuff nobody really knows at this point in time. I think everything is on the table. One of the other interesting things they talked about is the game engine, which is continuing to improve. I think we all like think about the Slipspace engine and hear that and assume that it's a train wreck. I don't think it's really a train wreck anymore. They're also continuing to improve it. I think if you were to go to a competent studio that knows how to game design, and you said, here's the engine, here's some assets, they could make a Halo game that felt like a Halo game, but take their game design and artists and storytellers and maybe tweak it in a different direction. And I think maybe that's where Microsoft is. I think they've just said that this trying to appeal to the old school base that wants to play Halo 3 for the rest of their lives, like that's not going to make us money. And that's not going to drive people to Game Pass. That's not going to, it doesn't resonate more than a couple weeks on Twitter. And so we need to do something else if we're going to go expensive. So I think right now where they're at, there's a lot of reason to be pessimistic about the short term, but I think everything's on the table long term, and we don't really know. So when we talk about like 343 and people say, well, like, it's time to just shutter the studio or whatever it is, they're not the same studio really at all that they were a couple years ago when Craig Face came out in 2020. Like that was a completely different leadership team from every single facet. And so now we don't know if they have good leadership today. I mean, Pierre, I think, has a little bit of a track record because of the MCC stuff. He did really well with that. And I think they believe he is somebody.
I think from what I've heard about him is that he's a bit of an unsung hero within 343.
Yeah. And people, it sounds like he inspires people. And that was one of the things, like, if you look at some of the stuff that when people were leaving 343, and you see it now on Twitter, the old leadership, and we're talking about like middle leadership, really pissed a lot of people off. Again, a lot of people were frustrated about the changes of direction, just by a lot of things, by the communication. And Riskit, you said something that I think is true. I do think this falls on Phil Spencer needs, like Phil Spencer, at the end of the day, the buck stops with him, right? And Matt Booty, and they do own this stuff. Some of the problems, that we know from former 343 employees started up at the top, like above Bonnie Ross back in the day, when they were telling her like, Master Chief Collection, instead of a Halo 2, we need something bigger because Xbox One's in trouble. And so we're going to force you to rush this thing out. And we don't have any studios to do it. So we're going to bring a single player studio to do the multiplayer. And they effed it up. And that's why we got that disaster at launch. That was a high level decision when they wanted to push Halo 4 back to have more time to kind of figure that game out. And deliver both a campaign and multiplayer. They wanted that to be the launch of the Xbox One, but the leadership said no. We want to make money on it while we have all these 360 users. Like we want to cash in on that, and so that was a top level decision. And they had other issues where they were Josh Holmes left the studio, and like they wanted to do more with Halo 5. They wanted more time on that game. And he says that you can even see, like, if you look at Halo 5, there's certain levels that are basically just unfinished levels that we just kind of like just threw in there because they were forced to rush that out because it was like a snowball. Like every time Microsoft was in trouble, it's like, we need more Halo. And they really had, from the very inception of 343, they've had the wrong leadership right from the very top. And then you have to say that I don't like to single out any names, but there's definitely, I think Jez called it out today. He was talking about Chris Lee and like the lack of communication. But at the end of the day, when you put people in those places, you got to own that too. And at some point, Phil's got to go,
that's exactly right.
Yeah, we're not. Yeah, like we're not getting, people are not on the same page. We got to pull this. We got to get in here and see what the hell is going on. And so hopefully, this is an expensive.
I think when you talk about 343, you do talk about sort of the old Microsoft and Microsoft as a whole. It's a big company with a lot of moving parts, and if you've ever worked in a massive company, you'll know that ship is slow to turn, and is always slow to turn. And I think 343 sort of suffered a little bit under Microsoft's old, the old school Microsoft, and how they treated Xbox. And then I also think that they're a little bit slow to turn with some of these management issues, which is 110%. But what I kind of want to shift to, and I do want to shift to the panel when one bad, but I don't want to cut you off. I want to bring you back in on this.
I've talked a lot. I'd say it. Thanks for letting me rant. It's been therapy, man. It's therapy. Like I've been on.
That's what we're here for. We've all been traumatized.
Episode 59.
I was like watching the numbers. I'm like, are the numbers like dropping because I've been just ranting. I'm like, okay,
no, but like immediately when you stopped, like they went up. It's weird. No, look, look. What I think is now important. Like we could talk about what happened in the past, and we have ad nauseum, and we could talk about why we're here and that. But really, what everyone I think wants to know, and what we all want to know ourselves is, where does 343 go from here? And how do the layoffs affect the studio and the IP? And so what we're hearing is, and I don't know if this is, there's also been, Schreier's come out and said that this is not all true. So some of this may be, take it with a grain of salt. But the rumor on the street is that now 343 will basically become caretakers of the IP. And they will farm out. Not sell off, Pete. I know that was just you were just kind of in the riffing in the moment, and that's not really what you meant. But they're going to
definitely incorrect wording. But
they are going to farm out the IP to other studios. I'm a little bit split on this. I've only had 3 hours sleep. I was up late last night working until the wee hours of the morning, and I was thinking on this a lot as I had a lot of time to do. And I had a lot of time to think on it. I'm still split on this and what this kind of means for Halo, because this could be a really good thing. You could farm this out to, say, the guys who did Age of Empires, and they could do a Halo Wars 3, and that would be awesome. You could farm this out to Avalanche or Crystal Dynamics, and they could do a third-person sort of over-the-shoulder in Halo universe action adventure. It doesn't have to be Master Chief. It could be Team Osiris, or you could farm this out to Platinum Games, and it could end up being absolutely fucking horrific. So there's so many different there's so many different ways to oh, I've already said it, you Danny. I've already said it. Episode 69 is going to be epic.
Halo.
But
giant enemy crabs.
This is for me really sort of nuanced, and I'm a little bit concerned. And here's the other thing that I'll throw before I jump over to you, Umbra, and ask you how you feel about this. 343 as arbiters of Halo have not been fantastic. And so I don't really know how I feel about having 343 as the caretakers and law holders of Halo. So there's also that, which is a concern for me. But this could be a really good thing, or it could be a really bad thing. And Umbra, which way are you leaning?
Slightly to the right. No, but anyway, no, seriously.
Everyone has a lean.
No, man, it's crazy how so much stuff unfolded. I mean, I will say we were definitely correct here when we pointed out that it was a management issue. We said that way back. And it's unfortunate that it turned out to be true. I will say some positives here and there, right? I still feel like Halo Infinite, for all its flaws, I still love the campaign. I still do enjoy the multiplayer, but there are, as you would say, Risk, caveats. Load up the tomatoes, everybody. But yeah, it's the caveats, man. It's certain things that I'm reading some of the chats. It's some of the things that happened along the way that made it all the more worse. And unfortunately, Halo is my favorite IP in gaming, period. And mind you, I was not a big fan of first person shooters before Halo CE, and it just turned it all around. I did enjoy GoldenEye, but not loved first person shooters. Halo did that for me. So to see it get into the state that it's in right now is definitely depressing. And you see so much negativity surrounding Halo. It's just unfortunate. Management, from everything from what we heard with the engine switches and them not getting that nailed, to development of the slip space, to it seems like inconsistencies on when they wanted to do whatever for how they wanted to launch, moving it to a live service. So many of these things seem to go wrong and misaligned. And if you're gonna have a live service game, you gotta have content. We all know that. So having it like that and the fact that they had really none, it just made it all the more worse. And Halo used to be a thing where it was launched feature rich, and now it's just a thing of the past. It feels like now, and the live service thing didn't help. So it felt like a blatant attempt at a money grab. So it just had a lot of negative stuff going for it already. And they made a lot of good moves too. They transitioned back to the traditional style armor. Mark. They transitioned back to the traditional style of art and armor and things like that. They did a lot of things I thought that were right, but it felt like they just went astray here and there. The thing I'll point out too, we talk about Phil, and Pong hit it on the head in the chat. He said that one of his main faults and positives is his loyalty, and I agree with that, because I think he allowed too much to go on for too long where he should have stepped in. And if you all remember, we watched the showcase years back when they first unveiled Halo, and we were like, why does it look like that? That was before the delay. And I remember saying several times, how did you all allow that to be shown in that condition? Like, how did that happen? And it still boggles the mind, as they would say, that they would allow that to happen that way. And from then on, it's kind of been a trickle of negativity. We got Craig from that. I know it got turned into a positive in some ways, but we got so much negativity from that. It was negativity from the start with Halo Infinite. Unfortunately, it was a downgrade of the engine from what we saw, and when it was first announced and shown, with the soldiers walking down the field, and to what we actually got. It's a lot of negativity that happened and surrounded it, unfortunately, and all of that seemed to me to point to a lack of correct management of the franchise. So it seems like
the the date was a hope date. They wanted to hit it on the 20th anniversary, and I mean, Phil Spencer pointed it out, and it was definitely the wrong move. But when it launched, Umbra, it launched to pretty good reviews. Everyone was pretty happy with the campaign.
It did, and then I think reality kind of set in after a while. You know what I mean? Like, I think we were just, oh, Halo's Halo, and the game does have some good things going about it. I still love the campaign. I didn't love everything about the campaign. Like, I think if you all remember, I gave it a 9 out of 10, but that was just off sheer fun factor, really. And the fact that you had this grapple that you could travel around with. Even when we played co-op, that was still one of the most fun parts about it, right? But the fact of it is that they messed up a lot of things for as far as the presentation, the narrative was a little airy. And it's because they had this more open world design that they were going with this. Excuse the background noise, guys. But yeah, they had a lot of that going on with it too. So can you know what? Give me 1 second and come back to me.
Well, I'll take this opportunity to chime in then, I suppose. Look, I think everyone's being a little bit harsh, and only because, you know, I've seen lots of people saying, "Oh, you know, is Starfield going to take over as Xbox's, you know, main IP and all this stuff?" And I just don't think so. I understand that, you know, it's been very, very rocky, but I really enjoyed playing the story and the campaign, and adding the multiplayer was excellent. In regards to the environment, I somewhat agree with Riskit in saying that it did feel a little bit sparse. They could have added a lot more in there, whether it be enemies or interactable things, whatever. You know, there were a lot of like really cute Easter eggs in there that I really enjoyed as well. And like, I understand that, you know, some people are going to be like, "Oh yeah, whatever." Those little things, like, they don't actually matter. But, you know, I think they did put a lot of care and love into that campaign. And I think, you know, moving forward, I hope that they can improve the online portion, because the engine hasn't done it any favors, and it's been really disappointing for people and them playing with their friends. But we just want to play. We just want to play with our friends. That's all.
Just
And
want to rock right now. You know, if
yeah.
only they would have had the Unreal Engine, guys. What about that, Pete?
Oh, here we go again with that.
Oh, goodness sakes. Really?
Oh Lord.
UE5. Look,
If only.
Here till
I do want to come back to, if we can, because we can ad nauseum talk about the faults of Halo, and you know, and some of the triumphs of Halo, but it's the future of Halo that really matters to me, because a lot of people are saying Halo's dead, and Halo isn't dead, but I do believe that Halo Infinite is definitely in its death throes. And I think that's almost undeniable at this point.
No, I think Halo is dead to some of the biggest fans of Halo. I think that's what people say.
Well,
like, I know a lot of
it's
you were big fans, and now just sort of feel really disillusioned by the whole thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, that's the thing I want to point out too. That it just it makes everything feel uncertain, right? With this current news and so much stuff. Like I said, back to back. You know, it's been a lot of negativity for Halo. I know we can all acknowledge that, and you know, the fan base doesn't make it easier. We already said this many times that the fan base is one of the hardest to please. We know that. So all of those things happening, you know, in concessions, you know, sessions, that's the word I'm looking for, happening together the way they did, you know, it made it all the more worse. I think they did a lot right. I think they did a lot more wrong. And that's not from the developers themselves. It seems to be, and it, like we thought correctly, management issues. You know what I mean? I just don't know where they're going to go from here. And like, after seeing even Jazz point out that from the multiple sources that he heard from, and like you pointed out, one bad is where they were just in a talking phase of actual campaign DLC. What happened to the whole thought of the
10-year Halo,
the DLC with, what was the name of that thing? Well, they said they quietly scrapped that.
Yeah,
the Endless. What happened to that?
Yeah. Look, I had faith once Joe came, and I didn't actually realize he was only meant to be there to right the ship. I forgot totally about. I got so caught up that Joe was back that I think I got ahead of myself. Seeing him gone is a massive, massive blow to Halo. And not only that, Umbra, you know I love Halo. I've got that many hours in Halo. It's a little bit ridiculous. But they've got a new event going, started I think 3 days ago, where you can get a whole new armor set. It's going for 2 weeks. I tried to jump in yesterday to play. I could not find a game. I mean, I get you guys in America. I was talking to Mac Band about it. He can still find games consistently. I just can't in Australia. I want to play. I want to get those skins. I want to actually participate in the game. And there's just no games available. And this event started 3 days ago.
We'll go to the... I'll take you to the American servers. We'll
but
find something.
As we've said many times, or as I've said many times, is where if a game's going to die, you'll see it in Australia first, because we have a smaller fan base, a smaller player base, and you will see this start to happen in America. It's going to happen, and I really do believe that Halo Infinite's unfortunately dead due to lack of content and all those things. But I need to get to some of these super chats that are extremely relevant to what we're talking about, and then I do want to move on to what's in the future for Halo, because we are harping on the past, and we have ad nauseum talked about what Halo did wrong. And Hargate's super chat I want to get to as well, because I definitely want to address that. And I'm sure that me and Hargate will probably have it out in the party later on in the week. Drawn TJ with the $5 super chat. Hi guys, do you think that IdTech and Certain Affinity take over Halo and 343 is a support studio? No, Drawn TJ, that's not what we're hearing. What the rumor on the street is that they're going to farm out the IP to different studios, and I guess they do come as a support studio. So I guess you're actually probably right. That's probably what's going to happen. Certain Affinity probably already has their finger in the pie, so that's a definite. I don't think that id steps in to the picture in that way. Yadani, Jesus,
don't let Cutie see that. She's over there now.
I don't have a code for this. And I probably missed it already. So.
Drawn TJ with a massive $20 super chat, and going back to what we were talking about earlier in the podcast, he said people should respect other sides, even if it's political or gaming, and we need to come together, not just point fingers. We need to do better as a gaming fan base, but also as people. And that's all I have to say about that.
Well said, TJ.
Yeah,
well
it
said,
is
mate.
very well said, absolutely. And you'll notice I console war, but you'll notice I will never personally attack someone unless you bring that energy to me, and then, I might get a little bit spasty. Punty had a question. He said, do you think Microsoft could get punished for these layoffs as it relates to ABK when Amazon or Google wouldn't? Nor should they. Punty, yeah, I think it's a possibility. I think the FTC will use anything that they can as ammunition against Microsoft at this point, because they have such a flimsy case. MacBound
if you throw Nintendo out as a competitor, then absolutely you'll use that.
Yeah,
so,
most definitely.
That's probably more legitimate than that argument, right?
MacBound,
I wonder though, did he mean only in the FTC eyes, or did he mean like public opinion? Because that's what it seemed like.
Public opinion is going to punish them with that.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah. MacBound says, he asked, can they have a Halo game every 2 years, but different types of Halo games, RPG, arena shooters, BRs, maybe turn-based, and that's kind of what I want to get into going forward. So I will hold that super chat and reread it again. Yudani Quizada, he said, someone has to say it, what we're doing for episode 69. Yes, and Mark said we should turn all of our PFPs upside down and sit them on top of each other. We might do that. Huggy,
get our yodeling correct for the episode 69. That's all.
I'm going to jump to Yudani Quizada first. Oreo, Forza Horizon 5, Pagonia Zedona code dropped in the chat. I don't know. Is that a real chat? I don't know if that is a real code. I'm not sure if it is. Yudani, are you kidding, or is that a real thing? If that's a real thing, that's a little bit ridiculous that they have that. Oh my God, they've got an Oreo car. Cutie, and you want that? Oh my God. I mean, I suppose if they got a Vegemite car, I would be super stoked. Cutie just...
Oh, I know.
It is. He said it is a real... Guys, if you do get that code...
Someone has it, so, yeah, and obviously, the code is for you guys.
Yeah, if you guys get that code in the chat, let Yudani know, and please do thank him
Just tag me in the photo.
For the cookie cutter car. Hargeet Chatty with a $5 super chat says, thank you, Hargeet, very generous, most generous man in gaming. He says, I disagree that the campaign was not complete. I know, I've heard you do that before. Other Halos have also ended on cliffhangers. The campaign was longer than most of the Halo games. Yes, Hargeet, I understand what you're saying. However, the story is incomplete, and I'm not saying the cliffhanger at the end. Through the middle of that game, it was missing. It just something was missing. They definitely cut out some of that story, probably because Joe wasn't happy with it.
They acknowledged that there was some content that was cut. For one, it was areas we couldn't access. I still loved it, but there was clearly some cut content. Also, it was a matter of it being longer because of kind of artificially, because it was a big open world we had to traverse. So that made it a bit longer because of that, by the way. That's not to say I didn't love it, like I said, but you could tell there was some things missing.
Mm-hmm. And I think I was happy that they were doing that because I believed that they would bring out campaign DLC. And that's why I wanted it and sort of expected it, because I was like, okay, I want to fill in the gaps as well as and then try to, like maybe cap off a little bit of the ending or continue that cliffhanger or whatever they could have done with that DLC. It would have been nice to get it, just because I do believe it was incomplete. Now I'm going to go back to Mac Bounds, and then I'm going to go to the panel. He said, can they have a Halo game every 2 years, but different types of Halo games, RPG, arena shooters, BRs, maybe turn-based stuff.
Love it.
So Umbra, I wanted to go to you. How do you feel about what we're hearing about the future of Halo in regards to 343 becoming the caretakers of the Halo IP and then farming it out to different studios and basically sitting in support, like Drawn TJ said earlier in the super chat reads?
It's one of the things I thought it was kind of a silver lining in a way. Most people complained about 343, and well, I don't want to say most vocally, the vocal minority, at least online, were complaining about 343 in some fashion. I mean, plenty of Halo content creators. So maybe getting this in the hands of other developers and spin-offs of like what MacBound pointed out, from RTSs to maybe getting another Halo Wars, for instance, or getting us that third-person action, Halo spin-off game or something. I had the one where I wanted, Fireteam Osiris, for instance, to get a third-person game, kind of like Vanquish, for instance, in that vein. So getting things like that to be spin-off to actually explore the lore more, I think that's actually really dope. So I'm actually excited for that part of it. It just feels sad that it had to be the sacrifice of Halo Infinite as a greater whole for that to happen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Did you just shoot someone in the background? I'm just concerned.
It's my voice. It's every time I start singing, it just starts burning down houses, I guess. I don't know.
Your next door neighbor gets all hot and sets the place on fire.
Oh, Lord, he's talking again.
Teasy with the goat with the welcome, Teasy champion. Thanks for the $4.99 super chat. He says, there's no Xbox without Halo. We'll bounce back. J-Rock's game nights will still continue on. Yeah, I believe they will. And hopefully I might get a chance to join in one day because it's just a busy day for me, family day. But that's kind of a thing as well. Phil Spencer did say, if we lose our way with Halo, we lose our way with Xbox. So I don't think we see Halo die. Cutie, how do you feel about 343 becoming the sort of caretakers of the IP and then farming it out? We could get a multitude of different types of games, third person over the shoulder, sort of action adventures. We could get RPGs, we could get MMOs, we could get Command and Conquer style TTAs. How do you feel about all of that sort of? I mean, you never know; they might make a World of Halo sort of Warcraft type thing. How do you feel about that going forward?
Look, I think the world of Halo, the lore of Halo, it's got so much potential, and if they did do that, I really would be supportive of that, just simply because it's really solid. And they've worked really hard to cultivate not only fans but also develop the story.
Did you say only fans? Sorry, my bad. My bad.
No.
Save that for episode 69, please.
Yeah. I'm just signing into my Marley's. I'm just signing into my Marley's account right now.
Look
But yeah,
at
look,
those
I
big
think
old feet.
Oh gosh.
Sorry, cutie.
We haven't had a Barley's feet joke for like almost a year. I love it. Sorry, cutie. Go.
No, I think it'll be. I think it would be a positive. I don't know if it'll happen, but I think it would be good.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God, we went there. One bad mother. How do you feel about the future of Halo? And look, this is the thing. I'm still torn. I think it could be bad. Yep, absolutely. Cutie makes an extremely valid point that the lore is there. There's enough there to build multitude of games, a multitude of worlds, a multitude of spin-offs with a multitude of genres. But there is that caveat that 343 really haven't managed the IP well when they've had it to themselves. What makes us believe that they could manage the IP well when they hand it off to other studios? Why should they be the caretaker?
You know, I'll use an analogy that I used actually yesterday on our show about this. I saw over here, I'm in Detroit, Michigan. I root for the Detroit Lions, you know, the real football, not what you guys play over and overseas. but in my lifetime, I'm 47. We've won a single playoff game my entire lifetime. So there's been being a Lions fan, I guess, is what it feels like being a 343 fan lately. Although what I'll say though is where you have hopium is when you finally admit it, when the owner finally comes on and goes, we admit it, this isn't, we're not going to get to where we initially thought we were going to go with, you know, with this previous regime and the plan, and they change everything, then you can bring back, you know, there's always that hope. I would say right now it's not like they're not in a state where you can be like necessarily super optimistic, but I think it's a wait and see, and I do think that it's a situation where anything can happen. There's so much we don't know. We can look at one of Microsoft's other studios, World's Edge, who basically had a really small team. They worked with Relic for most of the grunt work of the, you know, the lunch pail developers over there. Pushed out Age of Empires 4, which got really good reviews, right? As far as I can tell, it's been pretty successful considering how that genre, you know, really felt that like that genre was dead on PC, but they seem to resonate and bring some of it back. So you can see some potential, something similar happening with Halo, right? Maybe you see multiple teams with that. Maybe, you know, like I, even though they did cut a lot of campaign, I feel like if they cut 100% of campaign, there probably would have been even more layoffs. So you still probably have teams there that are going to prototype, that are going to like play around with ideas and things like that. So, there's potential, and you mentioned some of them. I mean, there's whether another studio decides they want to take the IP and use a different engine like UE, or stick with Slipspace because, you know, 343 could loan them out the assets, the animations, the engine, all that stuff, and now you can give it to studios that even if you Microsoft help them, you know, ramp up at some point, they don't have to abide by the same 9-month, 10-month, whatever that is, contractor laws that are in Redmond. There's a lot of potential, right? Like a lot of the problems that existed before, which you hope, and this comes to Phil Spencer, Matt Booty, starting with them, and then down to the people they put in place now. You hope that they've learned some lessons, right? And you hope that what they said about Halo, like if we lose our way with that, that's still, they still feel that way. And that's the thing I think we don't know. We don't know now that they bought ABK, they bought ZeniMax, they have licenses that are, you know, historically bigger than Halo ever was. You know, Bethesda Softworks games generally have outperformed any Halo game. So, you know, so we don't know, like, did maybe their priorities change since those comments. I'm hoping that they haven't. I mean, I hope that they realize that Halo is their Mario, that it is still, even if it's not the biggest selling brand, not going to have the most engagement, it is still the one that people think about when they think about Xbox, and it's still going to represent them. And you know, just like we said, Pierre has some credibility. We don't know, Staten's not necessarily gone from like where he's at. He could still impact, you know, from if they're working with other studios. So there's a lot of potential, and I think a lot of Halo fans have,
did they not take
yeah.
a lot of wind out of your sail though to see that he left and went to Xbox Publishing?
Oh yeah, when I first saw that, I'm like, oh, this. Yes. It was a bad day, man. It was a bad day. It's like, it's like when your starting quarterback gets injured for the season early in the season. It's like that. Like, what do we do now? Like that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
then you step back though, and you go, well, we don't know all the details. And just like Riskit was saying, like there is a lot of potential with the license. And I think even Halo fans for years have been saying, how cool would it be to see like a Mass Effect type game in the Halo universe? How cool it would be to see a third person action adventure? And you could even take the sandbox, and we've seen mods where people have done third person views on PC, like maybe tweak that, add some more animations to it and make that legit. There's a lot of potential. So I would say that there's still hopium and there's intrigue and interest. I assume nothing right now. I don't like in terms. I can't predict even Infinite. I can't predict where it's going to go because we don't know everything that's in the pipeline. I think they have stuff lined up for 3 and 4, and maybe they do know how to market it, and it maybe grabs some people. Maybe it doesn't. And I think everything is on the table. Especially with right now with Microsoft, they seem to be the one thing I will say about this leadership with Phil Spencer and their team. They don't seem to be afraid to make big decisions, even if they're controversial. I mean, that doesn't mean they're all going to be right, but I think they aren't. It seems like they're not. Nothing is. It doesn't seem like anything's set in stone anymore, right? Like anything's possible. So
Yeah.
so I'm going to still hold out some hopium. I'm going to step back and be like, let's see what Pierre can do. I mean, and whoever he brings in, like, let's see what these guys are capable of. It's like a new GM, a new coach on your football team. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, your organization has been crap for years, but these guys had nothing to do with those problems. Let's see if they can be part of the solution.
Yeah,
Let me ask
absolutely.
you before you go, Riz. Sorry to say this. I just want to ask because Mark said, and I've seen other people say this too. He says that he feels like Halo just needs a full reboot. What do you guys think about that? And I kind of get where he's coming from. I do.
You mean
And I feel like
lore-wise? He's saying lore-wise? You get a bit,
I think he wants the whole thing done. Oh, yeah, just to reboot it in general.
Yeah,
And
look, I don't think that I don't reboot the lore. I think the lore is like the one last solid thing we have left of Halo at this point, and that's what can be built on.
Yeah, there's a lot of good lore they've never really capitalized with the games, right? Like there's some good books, there's some not good books, but there's some they've spent years, 2 decades, expanding the lore with books, and what part of 343's problem was assuming people read all that stuff. Don't do that now. Like, show us in the game. They don't need to reboot it. They could take us in a lot of different directions, though. So I think that the lore is probably one of the strengths of the series, despite some of the storytelling issues in 5 especially, and even a little bit in Infinite. Despite that, I think they can work their way out of those. And don't like. I wouldn't mind like if they ever did like a reimagining of the original trilogy, as long as it kind of stayed, the high level bullet points stayed within the lore.
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind seeing something like that.
Absolutely. P, I wanted to go to Jedi and just kind of cap the topic off and just kind of get your view on what do you think that why do you think 343 sort of have the right to caretake the IP? And also something that we didn't quite touch on is the fact that OBM did mention is they will be using the Slipspace engine going forward as well, and offering that to other studios. There is a lot of potential here, both for positive and for negative. So which way are you leaning with 343?
I just don't know anymore. They've made so many missteps. I think they were heading in the right direction with Halo 4. The only thing they got wrong with Halo 4, in my personal opinion, was the multiplayer. It was very, very lackluster. I think the campaign for 5 was a joke. I mean, it would have been good if it was just Master Chief. Yes, everybody wanted to see Blue Team. I get that, but Halo is a first-person shooter. It's not a team-based shooter. It's not Gears. I don't know why he tried to change it. Now they've gone the open world route. I mean, I suppose they're going on to that craze. I actually didn't mind it, but the story then becomes lacking. I just don't know what to do with 343. I think that there's been a few posts being put out on Twitter saying that the people that work at 343 are very dedicated. They love the franchise, and I truly believe that. But I think there needs to be a drastic change in management. I just don't think that they know what they're doing. And I'm glad Bonnie Ross is gone. I don't think that she was good for the franchise. It's just fallen dramatically under her leadership. I don't think she's the only one as well. So I'm at a loss with Halo. I really am. I love that franchise. I want it to be brought back to the forefront. You know, every Series X has a Master Chief helmet laser imprinted into the motherboard. I don't know what it's called, but every single one, has it laser imprinted. And there's, it's not
the
Gears,
CPU.
It's
yeah.
not.
Yeah.
It's not Forza. It's Halo. Halo is the bread and butter of Xbox. Xbox would not be here if it wasn't for Halo. It's a $6 billion franchise. It has the capability of being the number one IP again. I truly believe that. I do like this idea of 343 passing on the franchise to other people. I think that can really grow the game. And I mean, if we get one or two hits from that, I mean, how long have we been talking about a horror game based on the Flood? That sounds amazing to me. One Bad Mother sent me a tweet yesterday saying how good would it be to get a Mass Effect style RPG in the Halo universe. Oh, I am so ready for that game. I need it today. I needed it yesterday. So, look, them being the caretakers, that's fine. They can just look after the lore side of things and then get other people to develop the game for them. I'm cool with it. I suppose it's just a wait and see.
Absolutely, yeah, I think it is. And, for my part of things, I think someone mentioned that they did have a Halo Wars 3 in the works. I just want a Halo Wars that I can use mouse and keyboard with. And that will make me happy. If that's all that comes out of this, I will be stoked. Bobby Hawk with the $1 super chat, but he didn't say anything. Thanks, Bobby.
He's just happy to be here.
What's up, Bobby? Oh, God, I don't know if I've got the strength to move into this next topic. And before I do, please hit the
Starfield.
Please hit the like button.
The pain is coming.
Subscribe if you are new. Share us out. Let people know that we go live every Friday at 7 p.m. EST. And Jedi approves of the podcast. That is Jedi's way of giving his approval.
The neighbours are over. I think they're doing an open house, so crazy at the moment.
Get it, Jedi. Listen, so the next topic we got to move into is...
We don't like you around these parts. Get
out. We've this is kind of a big one. It's something that has been hotly debated in the background of the Xbox Infinite podcast. And I, for my part, will just give my thoughts on why I think this is a bit of an issue. So there is rumors that Starfield will be delayed, and they may now have some credence with... we know that Bethesda has been hit with some layoffs as well. Not big numbers of layoffs, but there is some. I personally don't think that that's going to affect the game in any way at all, but I know that some people will probably point to that as another reason as to why they believe a delay might happen. So we're talking about a rumor here. This is not an announced delay. This is nothing that's been proven or announced, so we're just purely based on a rumor. Now, my contention is on Starfield. Starfield should release on time and with quality. There should be no reason at this point for us to be expecting a delay, to be acquiescing to a delay, or even talking about a delay. I mean, I know it's going to happen. We speculate all the time. I get that. But I think there's a lot of people in the community that have immediately defaulted to a delay as soon as you start talking about Starfield. It's like, okay, I'm fine with Starfield delaying. As long as it gives me quality. I want both. Microsoft, you promised, you set a time frame. Hit the damn time frame. You've missed too many time frames. We've given you too much latitude. I think as Xbox gamers, we're always requesting that PlayStation guys hold PlayStation to account, and I think we should do the same. And I think quite often we do. But I think we should definitely do the same, just because it's Bethesda, just because it's Starfield, just because it is what it is. We shouldn't let them away with it. Like, if they come out with a delay, I'm going to be pissed. Boba says it still could delay. Next topic. But I asked a question. I didn't ask a question. I made a statement on Twitter. And what I said was Starfield should release on time and with full quality. Both of those KPIs should be hit. And a lot of the responses were, I don't care as long as it releases quality. Delays are a good thing. It's an immediate default. And I think that says a lot, and it's not good. It says a lot about the state of Xbox and the trust that we as consumers and fans have for the brand at this point. Now, Umbra, I'm going to go to you because I'm sure that you have some thoughts on this.
I do. I think I know, like, we've had our debates on it. I mean, it stemmed from Colt's chat with myself, you, and OBM, and it went on to Twitter. It went on to us having the space and everything, which I soundly won, by the way. Just to say, I even made myself a tweet. I actually did it before you, and I made a poll with it, and most sided with the fact of give the game a delay if it needs it. So it's all hypothetical, folks, just for everybody there who are in the audience and like, it's releasing on time, I said, damn you. Just relax. It's all hypothetical. Because I can see it coming. As we talked about in that space risk, the point of it is yeah, we could all agree the game should release on time and with quality. But the hypothetical was, what if it isn't ready? So then now it becomes a case of, do you want them to still release it at an unfinished, according to them, state, or delay it until it's right in their eyes, relatively and reasonably speaking, of course? Because I also had that point of contention with Pong, by the way. What's up, Pong? Pong was like, well, how long is enough, right? Well, reasonable. And that's where management will come in, because an oversight and say, hey, you guys, this is enough here. We've had, and I think Halo having the condition it had actually peppers this along perfectly, because I was part of the just release it crew. You had enough time. How much is enough time, right? I was part of that. And we paid for it. Halo paid for it. I learned my lesson from that. So now I'm of the mind of giving the game the time it needs to get it right. I asked Pete, I'm sure you remember, Pete, I said, what if they release Starfield and it's at 30 frames per second and they say they can patch it later on to give you the 60? Pete was like, nah, just delay it until they get that in there. And I get where he's coming from with that. You remember that, Pete?
I do, mate. Yeah, I do. And Todd Howard's comments really scared me. It's like he's throwing it out there that he is going to release in 30.
That's exactly what it sounds like.
Way.
Yeah, that's exactly what it sounds like. And I think maybe part of him just kind of like, I like 30. I don't know if it's so much that he likes it versus that's what that engine is capable of. And that goes back to my contention of them moving to a different engine. Be it id Tech, be it Unreal Engine 5. And I talked to Skolzy, by the way. We had him on the Xbox Factor, and I asked him flat out, literally word for word, he was like, Unreal Engine 5. That's what he would have chosen to use if he had the choice. And he gave reasons. He also broke down why they couldn't so easily move from creation, of course. And I think you touched on it, Pete, about, modders and things like that. So I do understand that too. And you were definitely correct on that point. But my thing is, Risk, it all comes down to what are you willing to accept as a consumer? And I, at this point, do not want an unfinished game from any of these people. I think if Todd Howard and team are telling me, hey, we want to get this right, and they know they have to make a correction off what they did with Fallout 76, and they want this game to be at its optimum best, and they come out and say we need a delay again until we can get this right or whatever. We're close, such and such. We need a few more months. I'm okay with that, and I don't think that's a negative. I don't think it's, as Risk would say, Stockholm syndrome. I don't think it's that at all.
It's definitely is.
Yeah. I disagree, but I think it's just a matter of us waiting for proper quality, and we should be looking for quality. And now, like I said, I get the point of it should be But that is a desire risk. That is a desire of want versus reality. So if the reality is that it has to be delayed because that's what they're telling us. I can't argue against that and be like, well, no, it should be ready right now. Yeah, it should be, but it's not. So what am I going to do? It's either you have options. I can say, okay, to hell with you. I'm not going to play the game then, or I can be like, no, release it now, petulantly. Or I can just accept that it needs to be delayed and accept that there's probably going to give me a better product at the end of the day. That's where I stand with it.
I absolutely understand where you stand, but I do think that Xbox gamers have Stockholm syndrome where they're immediately defaulting to, yep, delay it. What's happening here, and not us, because we're not big enough for anyone to really give a shit about. Let's be real, right?
Speak for yourself.
But Colt, I'm not talking about that sort of size. Colt, Gaz, Rand, Jez. I don't know what Rand and Jez's stance. I didn't get a chance to watch this morning. I was just dragging my ass out of bed when they were kicking off. I got the end of it. But these guys, yeah. These guys, Mr. Inferno, you're gonna get blocked. These guys are already sort of defaulting to a delay, and okaying it in a way. I know we disagree on that, Umbra. I absolutely understand your point of view. But if you immediately default to that, and yes, I also agree with. There's another point of view saying that that Microsoft won't delay it just because someone said. But if you're throwing that's in the arena now, that Microsoft now know that the general community will accept the delay from them, and so that makes their decision easier. And I don't think that we should be
Microsoft. I don't think they're listening to us enough like that. I think that they're going to. Yeah, I think they're going to do what they're going to do for what's best for that product and ultimately what's best for that game now. I think, mind you, that used to be something, Risk, we all used to complain about, where we would talk about Microsoft not having a better quality control. This is quality control. If they're saying, hey, give you the time you need to get this thing right, that's you know what I'm saying?
That's fine to say that if they're saying it, but they're not saying it. And already we're talking this. Like, they haven't said anything about a delay.
Speculation.
They haven't said anything about a delay. And we're talking it. Like, and that's my problem with it. Because if they had said it's going to be delayed, of course I'm going to be in the camp of delay it because I want quality. But I don't want to be running around saying it until they actually say it. Like, that's my thing.
I mean, but what difference does it make? I mean, honestly, that's what we do. We speculate. I don't understand why this topic would be any different to any other topic. Yeah, look, as far as public announcements are confirmed, Starfield is getting its own show sometime after January 25th. The developer direct. Now, we don't know why it's not actually going to be in the developer direct. That remains to be seen. And on their website, it's still saying that it's going to be releasing first half of the year. That's the only actually the only information that's actually out there. But why not speculate? Look, I don't think that it might necessarily be the game's not ready. I think that they need to separate this game away from other games. Now, my point has always been that since Redfield got pushed back from March to May, that means that Starfield is has to navigate that very difficult place of having its own time in the sun. I mean, Bethesda games typically are very, very long games. You want to at least give it a month of its own, fresh air. Then you're going to need a couple of months beforehand to promote it, which is why my contention has always been that it's going to release second half of the year. But it has nothing to do with the fact that the game's not ready. I mean, that was never my contention.
Yeah, look
just to say this really quick, because I know we got to get to OBM. Mr. Kima says if they delay, you guys will start hitching. I know he meant bitching about Xbox Game Studios being mismanaged. Brother, that ship has sailed long ago. They are
already been doing that. Yeah,
it's clear they've been mismanaged. It's not even an argument. So if they delay it, I'll be more on the side of good. They learned. That's where I'm at now.
Yeah, look, and again, I mean, you guys say it doesn't matter, but here's the fact of the matter is that Xbox does listen to the community more than any other game platform, more than Sony. And we've seen it many times. We've seen Xbox listen many times, and we've seen Xbox make changes many times because they have listened to the community. So saying that they don't listen and they wouldn't make a decision with that in mind, I'm not saying purely because of, but with that in mind, I think is folly. And I think that's already been proven to not be true. So I think I get we have to speculate and talk about it, and what would you want, you know? But it seems that it got very blown up to like just delay it, just delay it, just delay it. That entire show was, and I love Colt, I love Gas. These guys are absolute champions, and I have all respect. But that show, like, kind of, maybe it triggered me a little bit because I'm like, stop saying that shit. Like, you've said it over and over, and then the whole chat was like echoing, just delay it, just delay it, just delay it. I'm like, that's not a good. Microsoft. I mean, we already know that Phil watches some of these podcasts. That's not a good look. It's not something that we want to do. And I think
I like the look personally, but
I think I'm going to come to you, One Bad Mother, and I just think it shows the state of Xbox now. If I was Phil and I was watching that, I would be like, oh shit, if we do need to delay it, we're cool to do it. But I would also be a little bit embarrassed or upset that that's how my consumers feel about my platform. Is they don't trust me because we're not trusting them. We're literally not trusting them to put this out on time and to be quality. I mean, that's to me what all this screams. And absolutely, I'll be on their ass if they you wait. If they delay this game, you'll probably not hear me shut up about it for at least a month.
More so than any other time in the community, how you launch determines your success these days. The amplification of negativity within Twitter and just general social media can really negatively impact the sales of a game. So, and Bethesda have typically always been known for Bugfester for a reason. I mean, they get modders to fix a lot of their games. They get us to beta test their games. And a lot of people used to let it slide because of how loved they are in the community. But I don't know if they can get away with that in this day and age, especially with the console warring that's going on.
Oh, I'm not saying they should.
True.
I'm not saying,
especially with them being a part of Microsoft now. That's especially a good point.
I am in the camp of delay the game if it's not ready. I'm in that camp. I just don't think we need to vocalize it as much as we are. I mean, sure, we could speculate, but I mean, just the amount of vocalization around this whole rumor has been out of control. One Bad Mother, I know where you sit, and I'm going to mute you, but speak.
Speak that truth, OBM.
Phil Spencer, if you're listening, delay everything. I want great games. We don't need any more. We don't need anything to fill in the time. It's not like we're twiddling our thumbs, especially you look at what's going on in all the games that are going to be coming out now that people have got past the pandemic and they're starting to figure out the next gen tech. I want to see a Microsoft that starts to look for with their AAA stuff. I like their experimental, the smaller stuff too, like the Peniments and all that. But with their AAA games, I want to see them start aiming for the fences. And when you aim for the fences, if you're not doing like a rehash, if you're not like reusing a bunch of assets from a previous game and maybe making an enhanced DLC or something like that, so these games are really hard to target. Now, I will step back and say, if there was one thing that has frustrated me with Microsoft's leadership over the years, it has always been their communication, their messaging. I think they made a lot of mistakes, even this generation, coming out way too early on games that they didn't even know what they were. Like they, and I think what they were trying to they were trying to basically I guess pull a little bit of a smoke and mirrors magic trick, because there was a lot of years that they didn't invest in gaming. They didn't start until 2018, and we know it takes years for AAA games. So I think they were trying to cover up for the fact they didn't have anything really ready for this generation, or not enough ready for this generation, and so they were showing stuff too early. They were talking too much, and I think where Sony and Nintendo have done a much better job, and even other third-party publishers, is they really don't start coming out with release dates officially until they are closer and they are more sure of what what those dates are. So I will agree on that standpoint, and so I will give you a little bit here, Riskit, that I do believe that they need to get better with the messaging, and they need to, if they are going to give a date, be sure that you're going to hit that date. I do agree that you need to maintain confidence in your consumers. But I will say overall, I am not of the camp that, hey, this game is taking too long, or why is Fable taking too long, or whatever. Like if a thing's not coming along well, pull it back, get it right. Eventually, all these studios they purchased, some AAA games these days can take 6 years. They're taking 5 and 6 years, especially the ones made through the pandemic. And if you're going to make something really great, that's probably going to take a little bit of time. And and you sometimes can't pinpoint that down to just within a few month window or things, or you can, but you can aim for something and target it. But anybody's worked in technology, and I do with it, and not to that level either, and not to the level of where I'm at. But anybody's worked in technology knows the stuff happens, and there's you have best laid plans, and technology is just kind of weird like that. It is because it's always moving. It is really hard to kind of perfect stuff if you're trying to be ambitious. And I also will say that when it comes to studios like a Bethesda, like a Playground, like any of these studios that are run by leads like a Todd Howard or somebody who's been in the industry for many, many years, who's had a lot of successes outside of Fallout 76, and that was a different team than this one. Bethesda really, despite the bugs, has not really, they've never released a less than, they never released an average game. Everything they've released has been, it's set the bar, or it's been really, really good. And
96 and
I
97s is where typically their games sit when they release something. I mean, they are above and
you know
beyond.
what's yeah, no, I mean, what's funny, Jenna, you mentioned that. So I was looking to see where Halo Infinite was played in the most played list on the Xbox the other day, and you know what? When I got down the list and I finally found it, right behind that was Skyrim. Skyrim, a game a 360 game that came out years ago, 2 generations ago. It's got a little bit of a remaster. Is still being played almost as much as a brand new.
It's got a little bit of a remaster.
Crazy.
It's had 10.
Well, yeah, I would just say, I'm kind of being facetious there, but it shows you the legs that game can have, the importance that game has, and when Bethesda knocks it out of the park like they have done a few times, and I think, like, based on the stuff that's leaking, and I know I think Tim Dog said it recently on RDX, and others have kind of leaked it out, that people are really excited about what they're seeing behind the scenes. And they're breaking NDAs and all that other stuff, but that they're really excited about where the potential of this thing, and this could be like an Elden Ring type of moment for Xbox. So there's two things. One is the quality. I don't know where that stands. Obviously, I'm not an insider with Bethesda or anything like that. But even if the quality was there, I think for Microsoft, this moment is so important that what I don't like about this first half of this year, like hitting that target, is June, you got Diablo. I mean, you're right on the backs of Zelda potentially. I don't care, Final Fantasy, all that stuff, but I wouldn't mind seeing them up against that. But I would love to see them, not that they would fail or wouldn't have success, and I've heard a lot of people say it doesn't matter because it's in Game Pass. I just think this is very unique. This is the most important IP Microsoft has released since Halo CE.
That's facts.
And
I agree.
it has the potential to be the next face of what you think of when you think of Xbox. It has the potential, if you look at the legs of Skyrim, and a lot of those legs is due to the modding, right? The modding community and the things you can do with that game to continue to freshen it up. And now you got all these planets for modders to mess with. And the potential of this thing, like, this could have legs for this entire generation. And I would like to see them started in a month, where they do have a full runway to build up that zeitgeist, so that the media and the Twitters and the streamers and all those people don't have to dilute their attention between Diablo, and especially Diablo. I mean, like, that's probably going to be a Microsoft IP. So, like, why do that if June is sort of when it's supposed to be ready? So I'm just going to say, I trust Todd Howard. They need to do what's best for this game. I understand Riskit's point. I think Microsoft needs to get better at delivering on what they say, but I would work that differently. I would say that's not really that's not a thing that I would put on the developers as much as I would put that on the leadership, to make sure that you're very, very confident when you put out dates that you're on that home stretch, right? That's what Sony does now. They don't give you firm dates anymore until
all of this is on the leadership. All these decisions, these final decisions, is on leadership. And to me, it's I'm tired of the missteps and misdates and
miscommunication and such.
Yeah, it's enough, and it's either put up or shut up. And
We
probably
do know that Sony was trying to buy exclusivity for this IP. They saw
Mhm.
this IP quite early, and yes, I get the pedigree behind it, but they actually saw this game and desperately wanted it for their own. They wanted it to be an exclusive. That gives me a lot of faith in this game.
yeah. Look,
Well,
And that's,
I
and
do-
that's the thing.
more
That's
faith.
I was,
Look
I was going to
at.
say, by the
Oh,
way,
go
that's
ahead,
the
go ahead.
thing. There is no chance to get a second chance at a first impression. You cannot have this game come out and it's super buggy and like the past games or
Right.
lacking or in whatever way. And when we first saw it presented to us, it was in subpar 20 something frame per second. We can't have that. If it's going to be 30 frames per second, it's already going to get criticized for that. So at least have it polished 30. At least have it full content release. I don't want to have a lot of issues with that. So there's, like you said, one bed. It is now possibly going to be this flagship for Microsoft, which is crazy to say, but because of the Halo situation, that's more than likely true. You can't have this game come out half-assed.
Absolutely, and no one's saying that it should come out half-assed. It's never been my contention.
Yeah.
What I'm saying
I
is
agree.
that they should
That's
be.
why I'm saying.
They should
Yeah,
be
but that's
able.
why I'm saying they can't release it just anyway, just
Yeah.
because they say, well, they say at this date, so
Yeah, they should be
I
able
get
to
that
achieve both. They've got plenty of time in over just under 12 months. And the other thing is, I will say this in response to it landing with other games. Starfield doesn't need to worry about where it lands. Okay, so you're thinking of it backwards. So Starfield will kill anything it lands next to, right?
Agreed.
So
Zelda.
it doesn't need. Well, it's Zelda and stuff. Starfield's not going to affect. Zelda's not going to affect Starfield's player base, and Starfield's not going to affect Zelda's player base. That's 110% true. Let me finish what I'm saying.
I
Let me finish
don't
what I'm
agree
saying.
with it fully.
So you don't have to. That's fine. But Starfield will absolutely kill anything it lands next to in regard outside of Nintendo. And so games have to worry about where they're landing up against Starfield. Ergo, Microsoft have to worry about where Redfall's landing, where they're putting Forza, where they're putting those games in and around Starfield. Starfield can land wherever the hell it needs to. The other games will probably need to shift. And definitely up against Diablo 4, Starfield will have the upper hand. But I also do think that Diablo and Starfield, slightly different player bases there. Some might cross over, but I don't think massively.
I agree with that, Riskit. But if Diablo is a Microsoft IP, you don't want your own IPs going up against each other. I think Starfield will pretty much destroy anything that it goes up against, and that's not good for Diablo. That's not good for a massive Blizzard IP when they've just paid $70 billion to acquire
it's not their IP. And it's going to be a problem going forward with Microsoft's first party. Like the entire year, if they're going to drop a game a quarter, they are going to hurt their third-party partners. Like, think of Diablo 4 as a third-party partner. They never want to hurt their third-party partners. Doesn't matter if they own it or they don't own it. They don't want to hurt their third-party partners. That's not what Microsoft's about. PlayStation wouldn't want to do that either, because those games make money.
By the way, though. But the same thing applies for earlier months. We have plenty of third-party partnership games that's coming out in the month that you would hope them to release it in. So that still applies, and it's actually worse for those than it would be for Diablo.
Yeah, agreed. But that's the thing.
You've got into the thought of that fits into more of why it could possibly release late June or after June.
There's still go and have a look at the list dropping in June. It's still pretty stacked. I do need to get to Kiki. Go and have a look at the list. You're going to kill something. This game is going to kill a game that it lands next to, and it's going to land next to a game.
It won't be a third-party partnership game. That's my point. It'll be something that doesn't affect it, like you pointed out with Zelda.
Cutie, I do want to get your view on this. I want to get what I want to know, what I'm curious to know, because you've been quite quiet on this whilst we've been debating in the background hotly. What I want to know is
taking it all in.
Do you think that Microsoft should they be able to release a fully fleshed out game on time? If they can't, should they just remain quiet with dates? Do you think that Starfield's half baked, or do you think it's ready to go? What are your thoughts on Starfield and everything that surrounds it?
The fact of the matter is, they haven't released a new world in 25 years. This universe is unique and very precious to them. they should be able to release this game when they say they will. Now, when they first released when Todd first announced the first date was supposed to be November 2022. That was at E3 in 2018. And it got delayed. Now, I think people in the community get really scared or really, and at the moment, outraged because we're all, really entitled these days, or so it seems. And then they start analyzing things, even when nothing is actually said about a delay. So I think people are worried and they're trying to hold them accountable. However, I don't think there's a worry to be had, to be honest. As far as I can see, this will be released in the first half of the year. When they said they would. They are having their own showcase because it deserves it. It really does. Not because they're going to give you bad news. That showcase is going to be fire. I know it is. And you are all going to be like, I'm playing that game. I'm playing that game. So I don't want people to go out there, especially if you have a platform, to feed into anything you don't have evidence for. In saying that, a delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. But I don't think this has been rushed. And I think people need to set their worries or their the way that they feel about it aside and just watch the showcase. Okay, it's going to be great. I know it.
Ooh, no kumbaya.
I love it. I love the take.
So, like she just like calmed me down. Like that was like a Zen moment. I was like,
Yeah, I didn't want that. No, yeah, everybody just be nice and no.
that was a good point.
No,
good
cutie.
So.
It is good points.
No, I mean, ultimately she's correct. I mean, the thing is that this is all speculation. I think the game is probably going to release when he said it would, or at the very least in June, which is still technically the first half. I don't see it release. I mean, and by the way, we had a question that kind of added to that. Mm-hmm. Typically, like when it's coming to, pre-orders and things like that, you give a 4-month window. So if the speculation now is that the showcase, by the way, from Tim Dog, is that the showcase for Starfield will be 2 weeks after this developer direct, then that would lead it to be to June for a release, just to say.
Yeah, not always though. Bloodwolf, did ask when do you think Starfield pre-orders will drop. Not always is it 4 months though. So, and as well, True. Todd Howard is a sneaky little bugger sometimes, and he does like tricky little things.
His opinion is of his own. Just want to point that out, Todd Howard, if you're listening.
He does do little tricky things to sort of be fun. It's fun, not a bad thing, like he just does that. He might do something like you never know, he might do something like, here's the showcase and the game's available for download. You never know, he may do that. I doubt they'll do that because I think that they'll want to have the early access with the success of Forza 5's early access and the amount of money that they would have made from that. I think they'll do that with Starfield. So I really don't think hold your breath for it. But I'm going to get to Hargeet's super chat. And it is a very super chat. I love it. Hargeet Channy with the $10. Very generous, most generous man in gaming. Says, I get what Riskit's saying. He said, if we put in Xbox's ears that we're okay with a delay, they'll make decisions with that in mind. Better to say we expect it to release by June. It's a good point. And I really think it is. Thank you, Hargeet.
It's one of Hargeet's worst takes. Outside of the June part, I think.
Starting with I get with risk. That's not something.
You messed up with it immediately. It's like,
I do
delete that take.
I do have
everyone freaked out when they announced Fallout 4 on E3, I think, which was June, and then released it in November, and that's what 4 or 5 months. I just can't see them not giving it that 4 or 5 months of marketing. Give time for pre-orders to get out there.
You're talking about Microsoft here. We're talking about Microsoft. And you are faithful on their marketing. Are you serious? This is Microsoft.
Bethesda does their own marketing. They're their own entity, although they've been purchased. So I mean, they can do what they will with it.
I do not see Microsoft, Bethesda, or marketing anything well. But when I hope I'm wrong and they start marketing, because that would be awesome. but I just have no faith in their marketing at all. I do have another super chat here, and I'm going to read this with a caveat. Clutchman01 with a $1.99 super chat. He says to check out LV1 Gaming's great show, great panel. Dude, if you can come in to someone else's podcast and drop super chats to bring people over to other channels, man, kind of get to know us first. Feel us out before you do that. Yeah, it's a little bit in bad taste to do that, bro. I'm just letting you know. I don't know if you're starting off your podcast or what you're up to, but I've never gone into anyone else's chat and tried to promote my show. I just feel that it's in bad taste. I did want to read it out because you did spend the $1.99, so I appreciate that, dude. But feel us out first, you know. Take us out for dinner before you bend us over. And moving on to your daddy Quizada's super chat. He said, Platinum Games trying not to lay off 90% of its staff by honeypotting Microsoft with scalebound news. Ah, shit. Here we go again. I don't think, I just don't see Microsoft engaging in anything to do with Platinum ever again, but I could be wrong. You never know. And there is another question, AJH, and he said, with Hogwarts topping the Steam wish list, I will put £1 to a penny when Starfield release date is announced. It will javelin to the top. Yeah, it should be interesting, actually. I think that's one game that it has serious third-party competition with, so wouldn't be a good idea to be dropping it around Hogwarts. But we're not going to talk about Hogwarts because I am going to talk about that next week on the show because it is a bit of a loaded topic. And we will move on to the next topic. Jesus, we have got a lot to talk about. Bro. Yeah, and we're gonna cut that one out. I'll just mention this. Forspoken's PC system requirements are out, and they made a little bit of a fuck up. They put a CPU in one of the system requirements that doesn't exist. That's hilarious. I was like, that's gold, absolute gold. Listen, okay, so I won't go to the panel on this one either because we do have a long one after this we need to get to, and I want to involve OBM in this, and I'm going to flick something to you in the private chat, OBM, and if you could just have a quick look at it and see if you could go over it and give us your takes on it. I'll get to this topic quickly first. So the EU has submitted basically a letter putting them on notice that they will be providing a basically caveats, basically conditions. So they do have conditions. They haven't told Microsoft what the conditions are, but this is actually concerning. I feel it's concerning personally because Microsoft has already put so much on the table. And because they've already put so much on the table, I'm concerned as to what it is that they are asking Microsoft to do. And I don't believe at this point Microsoft should have to offer fuck all. I think basically the entire industry has taken a giant shit on Microsoft as they've been trying to get this. Not the entire industry, but parts of the industry have taken a giant shit on Microsoft. They've been trying to acquire ABK, and this is clearly just good for gaming. I wouldn't say that normally about any consolidation, but it is good for gaming. It's good for the people that work for ABK. It's good for the unions. So many people who you should be giving a shit about are backing this. And there's the people that we really shouldn't be worrying about their bottom line. That you shouldn't be backing. So, yeah, we don't have a lot of time to cover that. It is something that I wanted to mention. So be on the lookout for the next report of EU submitting, some antitrust conditions to Microsoft. And I kind of look forward to seeing what they are. Until they are there's not really a whole lot to talk about. We can speculate on it. But we do have to get to something that we didn't do last week because we had a stack show. We always have a stack show. It's because I'm a stack kind of guy. We have the Podcast Game Awards. I don't have a soundboard, otherwise I would have made that echo.
Of the year.
Exclusive.
Shout out to Bushido for setting this up.
Yeah, absolutely. So if you, I'm just going to intro this. So if you don't know what's going on, a lot of podcasts across the scene, we are doing our own Podcast Game Awards because generally there was a bit of discourse. People weren't happy with the nominations. They weren't happy with the some of the people that got selected. So Mr. Bushido of KY Bob's Game Set Live and Spooky Sprockets Backlog Bastards podcast. Thought he would put together a bunch of podcasts that he likes and is involved in. And he thought of us, and that's very special, and I appreciate it. Good friend of the show. And we basically come up with our picks as podcasters of what we thought there was for Game of the Year. So look, I'll go through mine just quickly and quickly give a quick run as to why. And then I'll jump to each of the panel, and then we're probably going to start to wrap up because we are pushing towards that 3-hour mark, and I don't want to do that. I want to get out of here ASAP. Not because I don't enjoy the show, but, because 3 hours is just a long time. Yeah, it's a very long time. Anyway, shut up, Riskit, and read out your thing. So my game with it, so I'm going to start from the best looking graphics. So to me, Plague's Tale, I don't think that's, deniable. Possibly up against Horizon Forbidden West. They both look really good, but for me, the best looking graphics was Plague's Tale. And it was a beautiful game. The best ongoing game for me is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, not particularly Warzone, but just every year Call of Duty is just hitting hard, and just does like a great job of what they do. My indie game of the year is one that I convinced a few people to play, and everyone needs to play this game. I'm going to drop it in the chat because this game it's just awesome. Really enjoyable game. The story is told silently, and it's done through your actions in the game and what happens throughout the game. Check this game out. Indie game of the year for me was Far Changing Tides. And I know that will not get a look in the awards, but it really was my indie game of the year. It was the one that I enjoyed the most. Community Darling. I kind of picked this because I put the one that I think is the Community Darling somewhere else. So Tinykins, I think a lot of people love that. Best audio was for me, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. The best music for me, and anyone who said God of War Ragnarok, Ultimus, I'm looking directly at you. What drugs are you on? Like, it was the same bloody score that they had from 2018 with a couple of little flourishes. I'm sorry.
Same score.
I'm sorry. It's just the same. So the best music was Elden Ring for me. Best, anyone in the panel who did pick God of War for best music, you're fired. No, I apologize for my harsh words. Best action game, God of War Ragnarok. It was a great action game. Loved it. I really enjoyed it. It really was. It was a great game. It didn't live up to its predecessor, but it's always very hard to do that. Best story, Plague's Tale. I haven't completed it, so I will give you that caveat. But so far, it's really got me. And I've been playing it in piecemeal, and when I do that, usually I don't remember what I've done and what's happened, and I have with Plague's Tale. I know exactly where I'm at and what's happening, and that's really, to me, is the shows me it's a story that's gripping me. Underrated game, High on Life. That game got lambasted by the media, and this is another. We had a podcast about that where I was just pissed at the media again because really they wouldn't know gaming. Cutie excluded. They wouldn't know gaming if it jumped. One bad mother excluded. They wouldn't know gaming if it jumped up and bit them on the ass. Frankly, I think half of these guys don't even fucking play games. So yeah, that's what I think. So surprise game of the year was, and I haven't played it, but I know it just surprised the fuck out of everyone. I think it's an undeniable one. Vampire Survivors. I think it just grabbed everyone. I won't play it. I'm scared of that game. I'm scared of what will happen if I pick that game up. I don't want to be stuck on it, and I know it's what will happen. So I'm not playing it. I'm not playing it because I think it's bad. I'm not playing it because I think it's too good. And game of the year, undeniable, has to be Elden Ring for me. Again, didn't finish it. Put 250 hours into it. Loved it. The only thing that I would say it needed, and Pete will probably fucking either roll his eyes or attack me, one of the two. The story wasn't told in a way that I appreciated. Let's put it that way. I'm not saying there isn't a story. I'm saying it wasn't told in a way that I wanted it to be. But that's how From thought me done of it. Anyway, I'm not going to say it. Pete, we'll go. Pete, we'll go to you. Just run through what you picked and why, and then we'll move on to. So we'll go Pete, jump onto Cutie, onto Umbra, and then by then, hopefully, one bad mother. He already has it done. So rock and roll, Pete.
So I just want to preface this. I only put in games that I personally played. And I know you don't have to do it that way, but I felt that it was a little bit more authentic if I did that. So I apologise to PlayStation gamers. Surprise game of the year for me was Plague's Tale. My most underrated game was Tunic. I mean, I know it came out with a little bit of fanfare, but then it just died off. That game was amazing. It really was. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Best story for me was Us as Dusk Falls. I love choose your own adventure books growing up, and I just felt that it was a choose your own adventure game. Really, really cool to me. Best action game. Now, this is the one that I tossed up whether or not I should put in a game that I hadn't played. I was thinking definitely God of War, but I went with Elden Ring. Best music, Elden Ring. I know I picked Elden Ring a lot, but my God, that game is amazing. Best audio. I haven't seen this much, but I put down Scorn because I just love those disgusting sounds they made in the background, that when you're pulling things out of your stomach, and it just was really, really eerie and really, really cool to me. The community darling Vampire Survivors, everybody got caught up in that game except for Riskit because he's not a real gamer. Indie game of the year was Trek to Yomi. I love that game. I think I've said it before. The cinematography of that game was something truly special to me. I love the story. Yeah, just a fantastic game all around. Best multiplayer, probably, by the amount of hours I've got in this game. I couldn't put anything else but Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. And best graphics, I couldn't really choose between Modern Warfare 2 and Callisto Protocol. So Modern Warfare 2 for the environments and Callisto Protocol for the facial animations. Just amazing. And I mean, honestly, do you even need to ask me what my game of the year was? 100%, 100%, 110% Elden Ring. That game is something very, very special.
Whoa, okay. All right, I guess I'm up next. I guess are we going backwards? What order are you guys reading these in?
Go, Kitty.
Just
Go,
read it
Kitty.
from the top to the bottom if you
but
want.
my game of the year is at the top.
I put
Well,
my
let's start
game of
from
the
the
year
bottom.
last. Yeah.
All right, okay. Surprise game of the year for me was High on Life, as well as my underrated game of the year. Best story for me was God of War Ragnarok. Best action game, Tiny Tina's Wonderland. I don't know if the jokes really got me, or or just how fun it seemed to play, but yeah, that was mine. Best music, I put in Lego Star Wars Skywalker Saga. I played so much of that game and just had the music on the entire time, except when I wasn't, except when I was streaming it. So, best audio, God of War Ragnarok. Community darling, Disney Dreamlight Valley. Now that game has got a huge cult following, and if you're into it, you are so into it. You love it so much, and it's great. I love it, love it. Indie Game of the Year, Cult of the Lamb. Best ongoing multiplayer, World of Warcraft Dragonflight. I'm sure that's no secret to anyone who follows me. And then best graphics are God of War Ragnarok. And then Game of the Year, even though I have it. I've played very minimal of it. And do you know why? It's really, really hard. It's a hard game. And, to anyone who has finished it and gotten through it, that's great for you, because I had a terrible time playing it. But you know what? It is Game of the Year because it's just the amount of detail and the amount of work on that game, and the community surrounding it is just incredible. And all the gameplay that I see from it is just absolutely fantastic. So yeah. And then Umbra, what are yours, darling?
What was your game of the year? Elden Ring?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll start, I guess I'll do like you guys did. Best graphics, best looking, I gave to Horizon Forbidden West. Best ongoing, I gave to Modern Warfare 2. I think it's undeniable like how many people have been on that game and playing it nonstop and praising it. Indie game of the year, I gave to Vampire Survivors. Community darling, also Vampire Darlings. You couldn't go anywhere. You still can't without hearing somebody mention that game. It's a major surprise hit. I could have used that for the surprise game of the year just because of that as well, but I didn't. But it's clearly like cracking game form, so clearly deserves some recognition. Best audio, I also gave to Modern Warfare 2, like Risk. Best music, Elden Ring, like Pete. Absolutely spectacular music. Set the stage, set the battles you got in. Everything just felt epic because of it. Best action game I gave to Bayonetta, although Bayonetta 3, although I could have seen God of War getting that too, but I gave it to Bayonetta. Best story, God of War Ragnarok. Underrated game, Trek to Yomi. I even made a nice little put together edited video of my kills and the takeouts of that that I called Journey to Yomi and posted it online. Pretty dope, I think. By the way, you all should check it out. Anyway, surprise game of the year, High on Life. I actually had a Plague Tale Requiem at first, and I do believe a Plague Tale deserves some type of praise, but it didn't get it for this. I think High on Life surprised so many, and it still got unnecessary hate, unfortunately. But it deserves a lot more praise than what it got, in my opinion. I gave it an 8 out of 10. And Game of the Year, Elden Ring, unquestionably. Much like you pointed out, Cutie, so much right done about it, from the world building to the freedom of exploration, to the builds you can make, to the designs of your character with the armor choices and things of that nature, to the challenges that it presents. So much about that game is done right. I mean, the traversal, I love everything about it. Put in near just about 300 hours into it. Spectacular game, well deserving of Game of the Year. And that's it for me.
Absolutely. I agree with my list, not anyone else's. Moving on to One Bad Mother, what was your picks?
All right, we'll start. I will start from the bottom of the list. We'll start with best graphics. I put God of War. This was pretty close between that and Plague Tale. I think artistically, God of War was more interesting to look at, even if technically sometimes I like Plague Tale more. Best multiplayer is probably my most controversial pick, but I'm putting Halo's Forge mode, just because that Forge mode is crazy impressive, and it's a lot of fun to play around in. Indie game of the year, Vampire Survivor. I think that was easy. I can't think of an indie that's kind of captivated me that way. That's there's only been a handful that have done that. Best audio, Call of Duty. Best music, I put Elden Ring. Best action game, I put God of War. I honestly, from pure action this year, not one super grabbed me, but by default, I put God of War when I wasn't solving really drawn out puzzles. Best story, I put High on Life, and I that might be a little bit of a controversial pick, but I'll just say that all the other stories that I listened to this year, like, they're quality, but they really didn't grab me. I think when I went through, even Plague Tale was good. God of War dragged. I think even though those had higher quality production values, High on Life for some reason just kept my attention with those talking guns through the whole thing. My surprise game of the year was Vampire Survivor. I mean, it was a surprise at that time, and it really, the only thing that dethroned it from my overall game of the year was, just like a lot of others, Elden Ring, which is, I think, one of the greatest games ever made.
Yep, well, I think it's pretty unanimous that we all agree with Game of the Year's Keely's sort of pick for Game of the Year. I think it's fairly unanimous that we all disagree with the audio for the year. That's absolutely ridiculous. So Ultimus,
you just know he wanted God of War to win Game of the Year, though.
So Ultimus, you find Hargate dropped the salt with this $5 super chat. Thank you. Well, I'm not even going to thank you for this one, frankly. It's just I don't want to read it out.
How quickly he fell from your graces.
He's just salty that I absolutely smashed him the one time we competed on Gamerscore. So, that's all good. I understand. So he said for Riskit Publisher of the Year was Zitlan Games, with Game of the Year contender franchises like Smart Moves, Butterfly, and Synchro Hedgehogs. All games that Hargeet has completed, I will add.
I think most of us have played those.
Yeah, we all have. It's just me.
It's
not me.
It's just me getting the smoke for it because I won the competition. Anyway.
What did you win?
What did I win? Gamer Score of the Year. No, Gamer Score of the Month. Absolutely.
Yeah, but what did you win?
Absolutely buried him. Bragging rights,
Pride.
which I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think
Cutie
Hargate
doesn't get it. She like, what is that? Pride about you winning over him. She's like, what?
Hargate even gave up, I think, on trying to hit the game of score. Paris in the chat.
Yo, what's up, Paris, brother?
He said Kabuki Warriors 12 was game of the year. Whoa.
I like
When
it.
did they
I like
release
it.
that at?
Kabuki Warriors.
That's a very interesting pick there, Paris. Or maybe I'll bump into you at E3 and we can talk about that because I will be there. In fact, me, Umbra, and One Bad Mother. Are you heading there?
I am. That is the intention right now. Yeah, I got 2 kids, single dad, so we got to. There's always caveats, but I definitely. This is the year I want to get that thing off my bucket list.
I'm making this word caveat. It's my Yeah, look, I'll definitely be there, and if I have anything to say about it, and I've had lots to say about it, we'll continue to have lots to say about it. We'll get Pete there as well. I'm pretty sure Cutie's going. Pete's being resistant, but we'll do what we can. Anyway, that's the show. It's been an absolutely fantastic show. I want to thank everyone in the chat. First of all, you guys have been absolutely amazing. We had a fantastic. Oh yeah, he's going to E3 to fight Gaz. I will definitely put my money on you, Paris. Yeah, it's been absolutely fire chat. You guys have been amazing. And every week you guys are amazing. You come along, support us. And we couldn't do what we do without you guys. So thank you so much for doing what you guys do in the chat. I love it every week. You guys make me giggle. And our guest, who is unfortunately wrong most of the time, but still an amazing guy. One Bad Mother, you're an absolutely champion. Good sport. Thank you for coming along. I just want to point out that I was right about the contractors. And just let the people know.
Remember the argument.
Let the people know where they can find you. I remember every argument. Where they can find you and what you'll be up to. And I do have all of One Bad Mother's links in the description if you need to find any one of the panel members. We are also there as well. So, yeah, let people know where they can find you and what you'll be up to in the weeks coming.
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, want to just say again, thank you for having me on the show. A lot of times we're all in party chats. I consider you guys friends, and it's a lot of fun that we have people from every part of the world, all over the world. Really, a lot of different views on different things, different opinions and topics, and we can just kind of have fun with that, right? And it's kind of all those differences make the world go around. But if anybody does want to find me, I will be putting out content for Xbox Air again soon. I also run a small or a Halo podcast. So you had me at Halo. So if you still are not done with Halo, or even if you are, you just want to come and vent, come on and come and join us on that. That comes out every few weeks. Obviously, it's a little more sporadic cadence depending on where the news comes. But also just follow me on Twitter at Mutha_1. Which thank you, Riskit, for linking that. You'll find that I kind of do a Where's Waldo and pop up in a lot of podcasts and things like that. So just follow me there, and I'll make sure where any of these opinions where these opinions will continue. So. But again, appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. Everybody in this panel is awesome. So thanks.
Awesome. Yep. Thank you very much. And to the panel, DoomCutie, another fire week. Thanks for coming along. Give us your takes. I loved that you agreed with me on this whole Starfield thing. We shouldn't be talking delays until it's absolutely certain.
Yeah, don't get used to it.
Please let the people know where they can find you and what you'll be up to for the next week.
Thanks again for having me on the panel. You guys are awesome. Love you guys. And to One Bad Mother, of course, thanks for coming along and putting up with Riskit like we have to every single week. No, I'm kidding.
They love me.
Yes,
they really love me.
You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Twitch. You can find me on Xbox. You can find me in Azeroth. Come, please, join me. Join us in World of Warcraft, please.
PC Math Wraith. Well, I'm a cutie. I'd be interested to know if you also think that Final Fantasy 14 is trash like I do. And if you think that, can you tell Ian that he's a massive weeb? No, I love you, Ian.
Okay.
Just kidding. Just Gaming Podcast. He's an absolute champion. Head over and check out that podcast. And while you're doing that, JediKnightPete, another fire week, mate. Thanks for coming along and giving us your takes. I know you had a little bit of trouble at the start of the show, and I'm glad that that's all sorted out. and he is all good. Let us know where we can find you, what you're up to, and what you'll be doing the next coming week.
At Twitter, JediKnightPeter, at Xbox, JediKnightPeter. You guys know where you can find me. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. One Bad Mother, thank you for coming on the show. I don't know if I'll be here next week because a little game called Dead Space is releasing, and I might just call in sick. Really looking forward to that, and I'll probably be playing Fortnite this week. Peace.
Sorry, I muted myself because I was laughing so hard at Ian. Umbra, another fantastic show. I will bring Final 14 into this. It's Weebus. Another fantastic show, another fantastic week. Let people know where they can find you, what you'll be up to, and what you'll be up to for the next coming week.
Oh man, yeah, it was a good show. Thanks for joining us, OBM, man. Appreciate your takes and agreeing with me, the right side of things and the right side of history. And of course, Pete, yeah. Everybody else can agree with. Yeah, we always on the right side of things.
Yeah,
that's all. It is
exactly, mate. Yeah.
Thanks to everybody in the chat to come through and that comes through and support us. We appreciate you guys. Shooter, I'm hoping you're doing better, brother. He asked me to sing something, Risk. I was going to sing, but I know how you are. You hate joy. So, so I'm still going to sneak it in there somehow. But yeah, you guys, of course, can find me on Twitter, of course. The Twitters, Infinite Umbra or Umbra Infinite, you'll find me either way. So, join a brother. And and of course on Boom's podcast, Xbox Factor, on Tuesdays at 12 Eastern. And of course here every Friday at 7 o'clock Eastern. So come through and keep supporting us. Spread the word, subscribe if you haven't. Give us a like if you haven't yet. And Shooter, I hope you're doing better, brother. Only song I could think of that would go appropriate to you would be like Lean on Me. So that'll be about it I can think of. And Lean on me, but I know Risk is going to try to mute me, so I have to be strategic of how I sing it to you. When you're not strong.
Oh my God, where's that mute button, dude? Oh, there it is. So, look, it's an absolutely amazing show, and I want to thank everyone on the panel again and our amazing guest. You guys were awesome, and everyone in the chat that came through to support us. You guys are fantastic. Bobby Hawk, if you want to know what we've been playing, you can track back to the start of the show. We did mention I'm actually in the middle of 10 games. I never say what I'm playing. I'm in the middle of about 10 games. It's ridiculous. I need to finish some of these damn things. But anyway, that's the show. Great week. And we'll see you all next week.